Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Doomsday. I can draw unlimited cards for bonuses. Chapter 41. Listening to the roar and strange screams above gradually fade away. The crisis was over, and Lin Kun and others finally breathed a sigh of relief. Li Jia said, "Brother, you are still very powerful. You killed 2 birds with 1 stone. This is Boss Wu. Now he is directly giving us the blame." Lin Kun nodded. He was not worried that Boss Wu might survive and seek revenge in the future. That guy had a broken leg. There was no way he could outrun the attack ship and he would definitely die. The basement is dark. It's not a big place. It doesn't seem to be a place where Boss Wu and everyone stay. It's just Boss Wu's room. Li Xinghe is looking for lights. The soldier helped Wang Desheng sit down. Lin Kun looked at him. "Are you okay?" "It's okay." Wang Desheng looked at Lin Kun. "You are actually 5th on the ranking list." He knew that Lin Kun was very powerful and should be ranked high, but he didn't expect. He said directly, "If you are willing, Lao Jong and I are willing to introduce you." This is what was mentioned above. As long as you are in the top 10 stable areas, you can directly join the 6th Survivor Base Garrison Force in the Demon City. You can gain access to others. Unimaginable resource privileges, not just ordinary food and weapons, but also hot water, vegetables and fruits, and even the opportunity to enjoy scientific research results in our coordinated contribution of resources. Listening to Wang Desheng's words, some of the supermarket survivors who were still with them, as well as Qian Yingying, Zhao Wen and others all looked yearning. Such conditions were nothing before the end of the world, but now, they are heavenly treatment. But they don't even dare to think about it. Before this, Zhang Bin and others had never even mentioned it to them. Because it's simply not necessary. No one is qualified. And now, a qualified person is by their side. It's like a company that has a contract with an annual salary of 1 million or a contract with a monthly salary of 2,000. Who doesn't want $1 million contract? But most people may not even know whether their company has $1 million contract. Qian Yingying's eyes were even more complicated. She did not expect that before. She was a small leader in the unit, and Lin Kun and Li Jia were all her subordinates, and they were not as outstanding as her in any aspect. But now, Li Jia is okay. Lin Kun has reached a height that she can't even touch. They were still excited about getting a contribution point, but Lin Kun beside them was already a super boss with hundreds of contribution points. Lin Kun was a little silent. No one knows what the situation is like in the Demon City. Perhaps to others, receiving full support and preferential treatment from the military is a treatment that this guy only dreams of. But he has the strength and he can get most of those preferential treatment on his own. What he cares more about is the risks he may take. After all, he just wants to be the 6th child lying on the ground. Even if he takes the initiative to attack now, he is actually very careful. Every time he takes action, he must kill all the Bokatans. There are too many strong men in the Bokatans. He is not strong enough, and if he is targeted, he may be killed instantly. He is living well now, partly due to his strength, but more importantly because he was careful enough and never stood out too much. He killed hundreds of Bokatans one after another, which sounds like a lot, but it is different from the Bokatans. The huge base of the Khitan people is nothing compared to that, not to mention that most of them are armed civilians of Bakan. But if you join the military and are pushed out to cause abnormalities on some core battlefield, that may not necessarily be the case. If the Bokatan people really knew that he was a high-potential human being, he would definitely send a special force to kill him. If he was targeted by a civilization, there would be no luck and death would be certain. With the current situation in the Magic City, the federal military cannot save him. Compared with this, any favorable conditions are meaningless. However, before Lin Kun could answer, in the corner, Li Xinghe finally found the light switch. This hot pot restaurant has its own small generator and electricity, and the basement suddenly lights up. But as soon as the lights came on, a scene in the corner attracted everyone's attention and gasped. There was a woman on the wall deep in the basement. Her hands and feet were all pierced by steel nails, and she was nailed to the wall in a large shape. She had no clothes on her body. Her lower body was bloody, and there were large bruises on her body. It can be seen that this woman seems to be a beauty with good appearance and figure. But her head was drooped, and she was already on her deathbed, with no way to save her life. Is this something a human being can do? Wang Desheng cursed, checked, confirmed that she was hopeless, and finally gave her a happy ending. The atmosphere in the basement became somewhat solidified. No one said anything for a while. Boss Wu still has a lot of supplies here. When they left, they didn't know that they would be taken away from their lair. They couldn't take these away. Lin Kun and the others had almost packed their supplies. Most of Boss Wu's food was taken away by other supermarket survivors. Lin Kun and the others packed away Boss Wu's small box of gold jewelry. Gold is also hard currency. At this time, the attack ship gradually moved away. When they returned to the ground, although there was fire around them, there was no one left. Only at the far end of the field of vision, the Bakan sailing ship was slowly moving in the air. Wang Desheng walked at the front with a gun. Not far away, they saw the body of Boss Wu. His body was blown to pieces and mixed with the body of his younger brother. Only half of his head was left, and half of his face was full of fear of death. The state of death was extremely miserable. Everyone was happy for a while. Lin Kun was not surprised. His broken leg was bitten by the attack ship, and he was doomed to die. When his leg was blown off, Lin Kun knew that this man could not survive. This kind of desperate waiting for death to approach during the pursuit is the greatest punishment for such a scum. At this time, it was already past 3 in the afternoon. Lin Kun had just rested in the basement for a while, and his energy had recovered to 16 points. He found that after his energy limit became higher, the energy recovery speed in the resting state seemed to have increased. The improvement of these attribute data in the personal panel is far from as simple as the numerical addition. In addition to the obvious changes, there are more hidden increases. The attack ship has gone far away, the biggest threat is gone, and the sky is getting dark. They continue to move towards the survivor base of the 6th prison in the Magic City. Lin Kun still did not let go of the Bakatans along the way. He directly sniped and quickly defeated the small group of Bakatan armed personnel. His contribution points are still rising steadily, but his regional ranking is still stable at the 5th position. He is hunting, and the 4 in front are also hunting Bakatans everywhere. On the 3rd day of the apocalypse, the regional human rankings were changing all the time, not only the top few, but also the bottom ones. Humans were quickly adapting to this terrible civilization war and began to counterattack some of the Bakatans. As they got closer and closer to the survivor base of the 6th prison in the Magic City, the total number of contribution points in Lin Kun's hands was increasing. At first, Li Jia and the others were surprised by Lin Kun's strength, but now they are no longer surprised. The team cooperation gradually became close and seamless. A group of 10 Bakatans could be quickly annihilated. Lin Kun was the main attacker, and those who escaped were strangled by Li Jia and Wang Desheng. In this way, the Bakatans could be killed in a short time, leaving them no chance to ask for help, and the risk of hunting Bakatans could be minimized. While Lin Kun's contribution points increased, Li Jia and others also received some contribution points. Li Jia was very excited, because he not only had more contribution points, but also rose in the ranking in the region. They walked and stopped, and their speed was not fast. It was almost dusk, and the setting sun was blood red. They were still nearly 2 kilometers away from the survivor base of the 6th prison. The gunshots around them became more and more frequent, and it seemed that there were humans everywhere. This location was the distance of 100 rivers converging into the sea. People coming from all directions and preparing to go to the survivor base of the 6th prison in the Magic City were all in this area. This means the survivor base is just ahead. However, at this point, a huge sailing warship of the Bakatans slowly swept over from the air, blocking the route ahead. How could the Bakatans not know the movements of a large number of humans? They just wanted to cut off the way for these humans to the survivor base. Go, go. In the distance, the Bakatan sailing ship was passing through the sky, casting a huge shadow on the ground, surrounded by a large number of Bakatan military aircraft, just blocking their way. Wang Desheng took a deep look at it and decided to change the route. But the situation around was not optimistic. The Bakatan people dispatched a large number of troops to block the surrounding area and kill the escapees heading to the survivor base of the 6th prison in the Magic City. This seemed to be the last distance on the escape route, but it was blocked. When Lin Kun and his team retreated, they saw a dense fire rising in the distance of the Magic City. It was a group of missiles and fighter jets. They met the Bakan Air Force head-on half a minute later. The light of the explosion lit up the sky. This time, Lin Kuan and his team were very close, and the terrible explosion almost pierced people's eardrums and made their brains buzz. The missiles flew even a kilometer away and exploded not far from them. The main forces on both sides broke out here, and the survivors and Bakatans around them all ran away. The area within 2 kilometers was affected, and chaos ensued. The hidden survivors and Bakatans all ran out, and the streets were full of people, gunshots, death, and speeding vehicles. Lin Kuan and his team followed the path and encountered 2 Bakatans hiding in the building. They came out from behind and met each other on a narrow road. The 2 Bakatans' eyes shone brightly, thinking they had picked up a bunch of contribution points. But within 5 seconds, they turned into a headless corpse. The total number of contribution points in Lin Kuan's hand had reached 43 points. With another 7 contribution points, he could reach the standard for upgrading Mario's skills. Wang Desheng led the way. He was a qualified soldier, and he had already known the route to the survivor base by heart. At this time, there was a war all around, and they no longer had to hide their tracks. They went straight ahead at high speed, ready to go straight, and strive to reach the survivor base in the shortest time. When they saw the Bakatans, they exchanged fire fiercely. There were many survivors running like them. Wang Desheng had a clear goal. We will turn from the boulevard to the main road, find 2 cars there, and rush directly to the foot of the survivors' base. With a car, even if we take a longer detour, we can get there in at least 10 minutes. At this time, they were close to the suburbs, and the streets were not so crowded. In addition to the chaos at the moment, Wang Desheng's method was feasible. If they could find a car, they could make great strides and complete the final blow with their combat effectiveness. In the distance, a loud noise shook the earth, and groups of fireworks exploded in the air. The air forces of both sides were fiercely exchanging fire, and the Federal Army was suspected to have also deployed ground forces to hold back the giant fleet cluster of the Bakatans to ensure that the survivors and troops in the surrounding area could smoothly merge into the survivors' base. However, they had just arrived at the intersection of the boulevard and the main road when they encountered a group of Bakatans head-on. It was not the Bakatan armed personnel, but a group of Bakatan soldiers, fully armed and firing crazily. They were entrenched in the middle of the road, exchanging fire with another group of humans. Lin Kuan and his men rushed up and ran into them head-on. The little soldier beside Wang Desheng was almost hit by a sieve in an instant, and fell to the ground with convulsions. Lin Kuan and his men retreated quickly, and before they could fire back, they saw a human drone flying low and dropping a missile. The Bakatans entrenched on the main road were instantly blown to pieces, and the shock wave knocked Li Jia and his men over. The heat wave rushed on Lin Kuan's face. If it weren't for his amazing physique, he might have been knocked over. His heart was pounding wildly. This crazy and chaotic battlefield was different from what he had experienced before. No matter who you are, no matter how you evade, you may be killed directly by a flying stray bullet or someone hiding somewhere. But the human drone was also quickly destroyed. It had just dropped the missile and was hit by another missile and exploded. The flames were boiling less than 20 meters from the ground. In the flames of the explosion, a Bakatan light attack ship passed by at high speed, stirring up a gust of wind and disappeared in the distance in the blink of an eye. The chaotic battlefield seemed to be quiet again in an instant. Lin Kuan took a deep breath and prepared to run out to find a car. But he stopped after taking a step. Because he saw a person. In the center of the main road corresponding to the intersection of the boulevard where they were. Behind a car that was burned to a skeleton, sat Jong Bin. Jong. He lost an arm, but he was still alive, his face covered with blood and mud. He was staring at the sky, and suddenly, as if he had noticed something, he turned his head and met Lin Kuan's eyes. At that moment, Lin Kuan saw many colors in his eyes. There was joy, worry, and finally all turned into fear. Half a street away, he shook his head at Lin Kuan and Wang Desheng, slowly raised his last hand, waved to them, asking them not to come over, and then made a hush gesture at his lips. Then, he pointed his finger at the sky. Lin Kuan stood in the shadow of the boulevard and raised his head. Only then did he notice. In the sky of the main road ahead, about 300 meters away from Lin Kuan and 7 meters above the ground, there was a strong figure floating. It was a Botan telekineticist. Lin Kuen's breathing stopped at that moment. He had never seen such a powerful Botan. It hangs high in the sky like a god, and its mere breath makes people breathless. I haven't seen how it works either. The ground beneath its feet cracked open inch by inch. The road on the main road and the soil below were pulled up into the air by invisible forces. The same goes for those people in cars. The streets, which are hundreds of meters long and more than 10 meters wide, including everything on the streets, are pulled up into the sky by invisible forces, torn, twisted, deformed, squeezed, and finally falling suddenly. So, those cars, people, rocks and soil. It was all squeezed into a new road, mixed with flesh and steel mud. The firepower of the remaining human beings on the street was all frozen in front of it. No matter it was 9mm bullets or artillery shells with a caliber exceeding 100mm, they could not get close to it. They either stagnated or exploded in midair, and the flames were drowned by the falling streets. Destruction arrived at Jong Bin's location only 2 seconds later. Jong Bin had no time or chance to escape in any direction. But there was no fear on his face either. Not even looking at the monster above his head. He just leaned behind the bunker, looked at Lin Kuan and Wang Desheng, raised his fingers to his mouth, and silently told them, "Shish." At the last glance, he showed a helpless, bitter, and expectant smile. The next second, the ground beneath his feet cracked, and his body was pulled up from the ground by an invisible but terrifying force. He raised the muzzle of the gun with his only remaining hand and fired desperately at the godlike and powerful Botan from above, but it made no sense. His bullet solidified less than 2 centimeters out of the barrel. This is the world that dominates it. It may not even notice Jong Bin, because there are many humans whose lives it controls on this street, countless individuals, countless faces, and countless actions. It doesn't care, nor does it care, because in its eyes, these weak there is no difference between humans and ants. If you step on a bunch of ants to death, will you look at what they looked like before they died? You don't even know how many animals you have trampled to death. It only looked at the sky, as if it was a little impatient and wanted to end here and leave quickly. But Jong Bin, who was high up, never let go of the trigger. He no longer looked at Lin Kuan. It was as if Lin Kuan was not there at all, and he had never seen them at all. He opened his mouth, let out a silent roar, and fired wildly. He kept his promise. He reminded and protected Lin Kuan at the last moment of his life. He also fulfilled his mission. He will fight until the moment of death. Lin Kuan's eyes were blood red. A voice said in his heart, "You can't watch him die, rush out and save him." Another voice said in his heart, "That is the most powerful Botan you have ever seen. The power you are so proud of is vulnerable to him. If you go out now, you are courting death." He didn't have a chance to make a choice. Wang Desheng saw his intention, rushed forward and threw him to the ground. Before Lin Kuan could struggle, everything was over. Jong Bin rose to the limit and crashed to the ground. His body disintegrated under the invisible terrifying force. His human appearance was shattered like a tomato dropped to the ground. His bones cracked, his flesh and blood exploded, and his internal organs turned into blood and mud, mixed with the surrounding soil, gravel, and steel, into new soil. Shattered to pieces, dead without a whole body. That means the resurrection of the dead cannot bring him back from hell. The entire street was filled with smoke and dust that fell to the ground. The impact spread in all directions, and a nearby residential building collapsed. The smoke and dust covered half of the tree-lined road, and also completely submerged the figures of Lin Kuan and others. The Botan soared into the sky and quickly disappeared. It didn't even look at Jong Bin. Wang Desheng pressed Lin Kuan firmly and said, "I know it. There is a scar on its face. That is Bakan, who is 7th in the Magic City rankings and has 26,000 contribution points." Lin Kuan stopped struggling. He calmed down. Maybe, if he had just rushed out, Bakan might not have noticed him, because it didn't care at all and didn't even take a second look at the world beneath its feet. But Lin Kuan understood that Jong Bin's judgment was correct. Even he couldn't bring Jong Bin back 10 meters away from the intersection in 2 seconds. It takes 2 seconds to jump from here. If Bakan would not discover him or even attack him specifically, Lin Kuan would die from the indiscriminate attack. Lin Kuan sat up, stared at the ruins in front of him, stared at the far end of the crimson sky, and murmured, "How could such a person, Die like this. Wang Desheng sat on the other side, looking over there too, his eyes bloodshot. After a long silence, he suddenly heard Lin Qun sitting aside saying word by word, I wanted to know who it killed. Wang Desheng turned his head in surprise and met Lin Qun's blood-red eyes. I'm a selfish person, I'm afraid of death, I can't be as selfless as him. But he didn't deserve to die like this. I am indebted to him. I'm going to make that Botan, no matter what rank he is. I'm going to make him pay. The flames and explosions all faded away behind them. Lin Qun sat in the van, shaking forward. The surroundings were desolate, and they had already driven into the outskirts of the Magic City. In order to avoid the frontal battlefield between the Bokatans and the human military, they bypassed a longer distance. But it was relatively safer. The nearest route to the survivor base of the 6th prison has become a meat grinder. Botan has invested a top-level strongman and an entire air formation with a sailing ship as the core. In this kind of battlefield, everyone, whether strong or weak, has almost the same probability of death, and it all depends on luck. There are many survivors who made the same choice. Everyone spontaneously formed a small-scale convoy, without communicating with each other, just silently parallel at the edge of the city, and will complete the last section of the journey. There are obviously fewer Bokatans here, and they are not worried about becoming a target. Even if they become a target, the advantage of having a lot of people is that they can let others attract the firepower of the Bokatans. At this time, the sky is about to get completely dark, and the people in the convoy pointed and talked in the distance. From this position, you can see the huge, light curtain, rising in the distance from the Magic City, which is arc-shaped and goes straight into the sky. I think that is the power that blocks the Magic City. People are nervous and excited about arriving at the survivor base. But Lin Qun's car is particularly quiet. From the beginning, almost no one said anything. Lin Qun was also silent. In fact, he and Jong were not very familiar with each other. They knew each other for less than 2 days. When they first met, he was still worried that he would be dragged into the army and lose his life, so he reportedly Xinghei's name in a sinister way. But later, what this squad leader Jong did made Lin Qun very recognized and respected from the bottom of his heart. Until the end, he was also thinking about protecting others and fighting desperately. If he ran to them at that time, maybe he would kill Lin Qun and others, but he would not necessarily die. Why did he do that? Because he is a soldier, and because he clearly understands that this is a battle of civilizations. What is a battle of civilizations? The Bokatans want to kill every human being. Every living human being is a contribution point and a treasure to them. And what about me? Since the outbreak of the Doomsday, for the first time, he felt the heavy anger and sorrow beyond the threat of his own death. Wang Desheng in the driver's seat has not said anything. Jong is his squad leader and his brother. No one is more uncomfortable than him. But Lin Qun's words surprised everyone. At this time, looking at Lin Qun, who was particularly silent and quiet, everyone seemed a little uneasy. Wang Desheng advised, Mr. Lin, don't be impulsive. That guy carries 20,000 contribution points. Not to mention what these 20,000 contribution points can bring to it, even its level is probably extremely terrifying. How many levels does it have? 20, 30, 40 levels are all possible. Even if you are very powerful, I don't think this is what Jong wants to see. Don't worry, I'm not going to die. Lin Qun shook his head. He looked at the last ray of sunset in the distant sky that was about to be swallowed by darkness, and said word by word, I believe that I will kill it one day. I will work hard for it. Squad leader Jong made me a promise, and I also made him my promise in Longcheng Dijing. They want to kill us all, and I will kill them all the way. Until one day, I will let that arrogant Bokatan experience the same despair and death. This is not only for him, but also for myself. We have a life and death relationship with alien civilizations, so we should be prepared to kill every alien civilization creature, whether they are strong or weak. As long as they are not of our race, they should be our target. Especially those powerful alien races. They should be regarded as the objects of hatred by each of us, because if we don't kill them, sooner or later they will kill us and make us bleed and suffer. Instead of doing this, it is better to plan ahead and kill them one by one in advance. Bakan is my first real prey. Wang Desheng looked at him in a daze, as if he was shocked by his words, but he pondered for a moment, and suddenly felt that what Lin Kun said made a lot of sense. He gritted his teeth and said, "Okay. Mr. Lin, I think Lao Jong can rest in peace with what you said. I will also wait for that day, and I also promise you that as long as you need it, you can come to me, and I will do my best to help you. If I die, I will take your promise and tell Lao Jong that we will watch you kill them together. Of course, I may not have your talent, but I think what you said makes sense. Killing one or two ordinary Bakan aliens is nothing. Killing their strongest should be everyone's goal and everyone's way of survival. I will also move towards this goal." Lin Kun smiled softly. "It's a deal." Quote. The convoy moved forward steadily, but the journey was not smooth. Even in such a place, there were still Bakatans, rushing out from the shadows to intercept the convoy. But they never dreamed that they thought the human convoy was a contribution point delivered to their door, but in fact they were the ones who came to give away their heads. Lin Kun hid in the convoy and secretly competed with others to kill the Bakatans. Lin Kun held his breath. He wanted to become stronger. He had the same idea before, but never so urgently. He was not only angry, but even a little scared. This time it was Jong Bin who died. What about next time? If he were blocked by such a strong Bakatan man, he would be blocked. The person who died might be himself, Li Jia. So what if he revives the dead? There is no use being ground into mincemeat. Even if he is resurrected, with the huge gap in strength, wouldn't it be enough to kill him as many times as he has tried to kill? Only when you are strong and improve your strength is everything. Before arriving at the survivor base, Lin Kun's contribution had already reached 50. This time, he is ready to upgrade his skills. Drawing cards and upgrading go hand in hand. And Lin Kun also wanted to try it out to see what kind of changes skill upgrading could bring. In this way, the allocation of contribution points by the forest group can be more reasonable. 50 contribution points are not enough to upgrade the natural abilities and headshot girl skills, but Mario Jump and Mario Power are both. He decided to upgrade Mario Jump. 50 contribution points are quickly deducted. Mario's jumping skill has been upgraded quickly, and the description has undergone major changes. Name: Mario Jump Skill Card. Type: Skill Card Individual Type Level 2. Description: Using this skill card, you can get the jump from the character Mario in Super Mario. Upgrade: Your mastery of this card skill must have reached a certain level, the maximum height of your jump has been increased, and you can perform a double jump during a jump. This jump can violate certain physical laws, that is, no need to borrow force, you can jump a second time in the air. Tip: This skill card will provide you with 2 points of agility bonus. Lin Kun's eyes lit up when he saw these descriptions. In this round of upgrades, this skill can be said to have been improved in all aspects. The height of a single jump is increased, and you can double jump in the air. The most important thing is that this time it also provides 2 points of agility bonus. Lin Kun's panel data has been updated again. Name: Lin Kun. Level: 7 2753 thousandths. Strength: 14. Agility: 14. Physique: 20. Energy: 8/24. Tip: All the above data have a standard value of 10 for ordinary people. Talent: Card drawing bonus ability. The current number of card draws remaining: 0. Current remaining contribution points: 1. This time, Lin Kun was really a big walking flea. Lin Kun silently felt that the maximum height he could jump now had reached 6 times his height. In other words, he could jump up to 10.8 meters in one jump and 21.6 meters in 2 consecutive jumps. This is not an improvement at all, it is simply like changing a skill. Only, jumping in the air for the second time, how does it work? If you want to master it proficiently, I'm afraid you still need to practice. I wonder what will happen to the headshot girl skills and my own talent super upgrades. Lin Kun was thinking when there was a sudden commotion in front of him. Wang Desheng on one side also reminded, "Everyone, welcome to the survivor base of the 6th prison in the Demon City, we're here." Lin Kun raised his head. Their destination turned out to be right in front of them. Dark night falls. The survivor base comes into view. Lin Kun's first feeling about this place was that it was safe and bright. Multiple turrets and defense lines were set up inside and outside the prison, leaving only 2 entrances and exits at the front and rear. The military gathered in groups to guard the outside, and giant searchlights shot around, illuminating the entire survivor base as bright as day. It was far away from the guns and there were no Bokatans. The barbed wire fences and walls that closed off the prisoners in the prison have now become natural defensive positions here. At the 2 entrances and exits, the fleet has already lined up. Everyone entering the survivor base is subject to strict screening. Thanks to Wang Desheng's military connection, Lin Kun and the others were able to quickly enter the city through the military channel. The military passage is adjacent to the survivor passage. When passing by the crowded vehicles and embarrassed survivors, you can clearly see the envious and jealous eyes they cast. Of course, screening is still necessary. The base requires everyone to report their abilities and the number of contribution points they have received, so that in an emergency the military can recruit everyone to fight to protect the survivor base. Survivor bases do not require survivors to participate in base garrison. In fact, this kind of reporting is of little significance. The military currently has no channels to verify whether everyone's answers about their contribution points and abilities are true, and can only make rough statistics. Lin Kun did not report his Super S-level talent, but only mentioned the talent of Mario Power. Strength bonus is the most common talent. There are strong and weak, there is nothing surprising. Next comes the inspection. All items must be handed over for inspection, and I have to strip naked. Their supplies and weapons were all returned to them after the inspection. When they finally came out, there was a soldier who read to them the management regulations of the survivor base. Mostly nothing, just a little different. The 3rd survivor base in Magic City allows you to carry weapons in the survivor base, and you can also go out to hunt Bokatans with your certificate, but it is prohibited to fight in the survivor base. Once a fight is found to cause serious injuries, survivors will die. The base will shoot both parties involved in the fight, regardless of whether they are at fault or not. Lin Kun and others looked at each other and heard the difference in the management regulations. Although the military has not forcibly recruited survivors, it obviously hopes that all human survivors will become soldiers like the Bokatans. Moreover, the 6th prison here is called the 3rd survivor base, which proves that not only is this not the only survivor base, there are even 2 survivor bases in front of it. As for being shot if someone commits a crime, this is easy to understand and should be dealt with in special times. The soldier finally said, "The supplies are limited. We will distribute food once a day in the prison cafeteria. You can collect it at 12 o'clock. In addition, I remind you that once you choose to go out to hunt the Bokatans and are in danger, the survivors will be stationed at the base. There will be no reinforcements. Our mission is to hold on to the survivor base. In addition, if you have reached the top 10 in the regional rankings, and have received at least 1 ranking settlement reward, you can report it to the top. You will have the opportunity to receive higher treatment, be recruited into the top ranks of the military, and enjoy scientific research results." Li Jia secretly glanced at Lin Kun. Lin Kun just smiled and said nothing during the whole process. All the procedures went smoothly, but Lin Kun finally understood why the convoy entering the survivor base was blocked for so long. He didn't queue much, and it took about 50 minutes from being checked to completely entering the survivor base. It was completely dark. Wang Desheng, who was undergoing separate inspections, was waiting for them outside. He shook hands with Lin Kun and said, "I have a new mission. You can do whatever you want in the survivor base. If you want to join the military, you can do it anytime and anywhere." Lin Kun and the others were led forward by some volunteers to the rooms assigned to them. The volunteer was a young man in his early 20s, but he was quite eloquent. He led the way and said, "You came at the right time. There is a shortage of beds now. If it is later, you may not even have a place to stay. We can only slept in the corridor. The situation inside the prison looks good, clean and tidy, and there are not many people. Except for the survivors, there are volunteers and soldiers patrolling with guns, so that everyone here can stay calm." Lin Kun's heart moved. He walked forward, quietly stuffed a small packet of milk candies into the young man's hand, and said with a smile, "There are many of us, please find a quiet place for us." The smile on the young man's face immediately grew several times heavier. He put away the milk candy calmly and said, "Ordinary survivors can only live in the original cells, Detangbu, or a single room. According to current standards, Dotongu currently houses 25 people in one house and 7 in a single room. I suggest that the single room is a bit too small, but it is just right for you. Of course, this is the current situation. Our small prison of 2,000 people is planning to accommodate 70,000 to 80,000 people this time. If you come first, you will have to take up space. Lin Kyun still listened to the advice. Then I'll listen to you. There are 5 of us living in a room, which is quite spacious. But, if another person comes. The young man chuckled and tapped Lin Kyun with the hand holding the toffee. Don't worry, it's my job to lead people and arrange them. I won't do it from you. Li Jia was behind and asked curiously, what about other areas? And where are the original prisoners here? This place was bloodbathed by a group of Bakatans from the very beginning, and the prisoners were almost dead. As for other areas, the young man took something, obviously talking more, and said, those are all from the military and it is a place where high-level government officials and scientific research experts live. Of course, there is an exception. If you are ranked in the top 10 in the area, you can also live there. Quote. Li Jia instinctively glanced at Lin Kyun and said, do we have the top 10 here? Yes, not only yes, the second best Sha Qing is in our survivor base. The young man said with envy, of course, she is now third. But this does not affect the attention paid to her by the superiors. It is said that when she came, the division commander of the survivor base brought experts to see her in person and gave her the best treatment. Tisk tisk, she is a super expert. If only we were at her level. Why did the expert see her? Lin Kyun was also a little surprised. Unexpectedly, Sha Qing was also in the 6th prison survivor base. Who knows, it's probably for examination, but I heard that she hasn't come out since she was taken away by experts. Haha, to enjoy the treatment of the military, you have to follow the military's arrangements. While he was talking, the young man had already led Lin Kyun and the others to the single cell. The area is not large, only a few square meters in front and back, and only one bed, but here, it can barely be considered a good place. Because they had just passed by the so-called Datong Pu. There are more than 20 people in a room, and they don't even know each other yet. Who knows what trouble could happen? Lin Kyun came to the survivor base to find a place to stay, so that he could have a safe area to rest while hunting the Bakatans. He did not want to cause any trouble in the survivor base. He was still very satisfied with this place, thank you very much. Brother. Where is it? Just call me Lao Wu. I am responsible for the survivors in this area. If you have any questions, come to me. At this point, Lao Wu paused for a moment, then lowered his voice and said, one more thing, I have to remind you that although the security in this survivor base is very good under the pressure of the military, you should not provoke others. It is best not to show the supplies if you have them. After all, if someone is killed in the corner, the military can't find the murderer, so that's all. And, the area where you live, the family members of Ni Wensheng, who is ranked 21st in the area, are also here. Li Jia frowned when he heard this and said, 21, isn't that amazing? Here stands someone who was 3rd yesterday and 5th today. Of course, the 5th man said, I know you guys are from outside and you may have some skills, but that's 21. He has killed dozens of Bakatans. He is a big boss, and the military also he is very caring, and I heard that he also has connections with the government. Now the military is in charge of public security and external defense, and the government is in charge of our living areas, so, you understand, don't rush into others, otherwise something will happen. I can't help you. Lin Kyun smiled and took out 2 more lollipops from his arms. Thank you very much for telling us so much. We need you to take more care of us in the future. That's natural, that's natural. You don't have any betting, do you? The military will still distribute some living supplies to the survivors. They are all the prison's inventory. If you go late, they will be gone. The young man smiled and did not move. He collected the things sensibly. Lin Kyun and the others had a bunch of food and a box of gold, but they really didn't have any biological supplies, so they went to get the things with Lao Wu. There are many people in the survivor base, but at least from the outside, it is safe and the security is good. There is no chaos and unrest outside, and there is no death threat. Lin Kyun noticed that not everyone can receive the so-called bedding supplies in prison inventory. You need to know people to have a way to get it. From this point of view, those candies are not a loss. These quilts come in handy. The room was small and the bed was given to the two girls. Lin Kun and the others made full use of the bedding to make a bed on the floor. With 5 people, it was quite full. Here, it's like entering another world, and the sound of gunfire outside has become distant. Sitting here, Lin Kun felt a rare sense of relief. Although the environment here is not as good as his small home, it is safe here. In Dragon City Emperor scenery, he never slept well. This time I can sleep peacefully. This is also the purpose why he chose this place. When he came to the survivor base and accepted the protection of the military, at least this place was safe. He didn't have to worry about the Bakan suddenly coming in and killing him in his sleep, and he had enough time to rest. Such a safe house is extremely important. People get tired, and there are always times when they can't help themselves. Of course, once the survivor base is lost, the danger will be far greater than that of Longcheng Dijing community, but when that time comes, the human race in the Magic City will probably be almost doomed. Li Jia said from the side, "Brother, what should we do next?" Li Xinghe also watched eagerly. "Sleep." Lin Kun covered himself with a quilt. "Ha!" Li Jia was dumbfounded. "You finally got here, why don't you just go to bed first?" Lin Kun glanced at him and said, "Wake up, let's go out and hunt the Bakatans again." Backed by the safe zone of the survivor base, Lin Kun can now advance, attack, retreat or defend. They can attack the Bakatans if they can, and hide if they can't. His great cause of monster spawning and upgrading will only begin now. And soon, Lin Kun was snoring loudly. The people in the room looked at each other. There was no way, he was too tired. Since I came out of Dragon City Imperial View, my energy has rarely been above 15. I have been in sage time all the time. Even Kato Ying can't stand it. This was the most peaceful sleep Lin Kun had ever had since the disaster broke out. Not only him, but everyone else was sleeping soundly. The door was locked. Although there was noise outside, it seemed as if they were separated by this door. Lin Kun even had a dream that he had become a god or Buddha, standing on a high place with his hands on his waist and laughing. With a flick of his sleeves, the entire civilization of Bakan under his feet was completely destroyed. Then he woke up. When he woke up, he saw a pair of bright eyes looking at him in the dim room. The long eyelashes trembled slightly, but the look in the bright eyes was like a female leopard's aggressiveness. It was Zhao Wen. She didn't know when she woke up, and she was staring at Lin Kun like a kitten. This girl wanted to eat him. Thinking of Zhao Wen's previous fierce words, Lin Kun immediately coughed loudly. There were a lot of people in this room, and the more Lin Kun thought about Zhao Wen's previous fierce words, the more wrong they were. Can this thing still be shaken? Lin Kun had a feeling that Zhao Wen was not trying to curry favor with him, but that she wanted to conquer him. What kind of wild girl is this? But what surprised Lin Kun was that maybe everyone was too tired, so his cough did not wake anyone up. He was too embarrassed to make any more noise, so he had to withdraw quietly. He was agile enough now, and although the room was small, Zhao Wen could not catch him. Zhao Wen looked at him with a playful expression, but she did not say anything, just stepped back half a step and let him go. Lin Kun glanced at the people who were still sleeping in the room and said, "I'm going out for a while, you stay here. Tell them when they wake up, don't worry." He glanced at the time, it was already past 10 o'clock in the evening. He slept from 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock. After a full rest, not only did he recover his physical strength, but the most important energy also reached 24 points. It's time to go out and hunt the Bakatans. Lin Kun noticed that his ranking dropped by 1. A man named Lu Rui squeezed Lin Kun out with a value 2 contribution points higher than him. Lu Rui had no unit number in front of him, and he seemed to be a survivor. In the past 24 hours, many people have emerged. Those who are capable are gradually adapting to the Doomsday and starting to kill the Bakatans. The 5th and 6th are also short of contribution points. It is almost dawn today and the settlement is about to begin. Lin Kun's plan is to keep the top 5 even if he can't reach the 4th or 3rd place. Zhao Wen didn't say anything, but took out some food from the backpack in the corner and gave it to Lin Kun, saying, "Don't worry, I will tell them." Lin Kun nodded. Everyone is very tired. His own physical fitness is as high as 20 points, so he recovers quickly, but others may not. Therefore, he is not going to go out hunting with Ligia and others tonight, so let them rest here. Out of the cell, Lin Kun noticed that the number of people in the prison has increased several times in the past few hours. There were still rooms when they came, but now, the cells seemed to be full, and there were even people in the corridor outside. At a glance, there are heads everywhere. Even in the corridor outside the cell door of Lin Kun and his friends, there is a mother and daughter survivor lying, curled up in the corner to rest. Many survivors are like this, looking a little miserable and embarrassed, and few are in a good mental state. There are also a large number of government personnel and volunteers evacuating and diverting survivors. Too many people are prone to accidents, so they naturally have to strengthen supervision. There are so many people, but their room is still not stuffed in. That old five is really a good person. Lin Kun hurriedly walked through the crowd. There were too many people, and he was not moving fast. Suddenly there was a commotion in front. The huge crowd of survivors actually separated. A team of survivors came directly from the front. The man in the lead was very exaggerated, more than 2 meters and 3 meters tall, like a little giant. All the survivors who blocked him were pushed away by him with one hand, and no one dared to say a word. A survivor on the side said, "He is the 21, don't bump into him, don't bump into him." Is he Ni Wensheng? Lin Kun didn't want to cause trouble, so he made way and watched him walk by. Not only were the survivors afraid of him, but even the government and volunteers were polite. He didn't join the military either, but formed his own team and took the initiative to hunt the Bacatans. Ni Wensheng was surrounded by many people in front and behind him. What Lao Wu said was right. This guy has great momentum in the survivor base. A survivor on the side said enviously, "If I also have such strength." His companion on one side poured cold water and said, "If you have this strength, do you still need to sleep in the corridor? I also want to have such strength, so that my wife and children will not die. If you envy, you will also rush to the front of the ranking. Ranking is strength, and strength is status and power. The end of the world has come, and the social order has collapsed. Most of the social classes in the past have no meaning in this small survivor base, but new classes have been formed here. People at the bottom envy those at the top. People who have houses to live in are higher than those who sleep in the corridor. Those who have strength are superior to ordinary survivors. Those who have food are superior to those who are hungry. Lin Kun is considered a high-level person. He has strength, a house and food, and is happier than most people in this survivor base. Most people come here to seek refuge, but he wants to find a safe house. This alone is something that many survivors cannot even dream of. It was already past 10:40 when Lin Kun came out of the survivor base. He obtained an electromagnetic identification pass, which allowed him to return to the survivor base without the cumbersome screening procedures. The soldiers who issued him the pass were very surprised, because now even if the survivors go out, whether to find supplies or hunt Bacatans, they are basically in groups. It is very rare for someone like Lin Kun to go alone. Outside the survivor base, there are still convoys like dragons, and a large number of survivors gather here. In the distance of the east and LT city area, the fire illuminated the sky. The battle between the military and the Bacatans has not yet ended, and what surprised Lin Kun is that the Bacatans seem to have lost a huge sailing ship. There is only one ship left in the sky above the east and LT city area. The combat power of the federal military should not be underestimated. The area around the survivor base of the 6th prison in the Magic City has been cleared, and there are no Bacatans within a kilometer. Lin Kun groped into the darkness, turned into an unmanned suburban building complex, and found an absolutely safe place. He started testing his ability directly. He wanted to see how he could make 2 consecutive jumps in the air. In the first attempt, Lin Kun failed. He jumped up, rushed to a height of more than 10 meters, and landed with a bang. In the second attempt, Lin Kun found a little trick. In the third attempt, he succeeded. He jumped up and kicked his legs frantically in the air. I don't know which one was right. At a height of 10 meters, he actually achieved the goal of borrowing power from the air. That foot was clearly in the air, but it seemed as if he stepped on something that could borrow power, and he suddenly soared into the sky again. Like a sky-high monkey, he jumped directly from the ground and jumped out to a height of more than 20 meters. Lin Kun suddenly became excited, and kept trying, becoming more and more skilled. He found that he could even achieve multiple jumps. For example, the first time he jumped to the windowsill of a building on one side, he jumped up with the force, and then jumped twice in the air, which was equivalent to a triple jump. Lin Kuan even felt a sense of flying. With this triple jump, he even jumped over some low buildings and jumped directly from the roof. With this skill, he can indeed achieve another form of low-altitude flight. I am an aerial flyer. Lin Kuan used it skillfully and found that this ability was almost the same as Jong. He could use the force everywhere and double jump everywhere. He could even float in the air and between buildings. He could also jump all the way up a road more than 10 stories high. Of course, the most important thing is that such high mobility and flexibility can allow him to avoid direct conflict with the Bokatans, easily close the distance of 10 meters, and fly past at a high speed. The Bokatans can't even catch his shadow. He can easily hunt without the help of Legia and others to attract firepower. It can make up for the short range of the headshot girl skill in the external battlefield. This is not the limit. Mario's jumping skill can be upgraded. 100 contribution points can upgrade the skill to level 3. I don't know what changes and enhancements there are for the level 3 skill. He even jumped over the heads of a group of survivors rushing to the 6th prison. Everyone in the convoy was dumbfounded. The middle-aged man at the head was so scared that he braked urgently and looked up at the sky, and his soul was scared. Shit, what was that flying over? But Lin Kuan had already disappeared. He had mastered his magic skills, and was almost done, ready to hunt the Bokatans. 1.5 kilometers east of the survivor base of the 6th prison in the Magic City. This is far away from the direction of the Magic City, close to the light curtain that blocks the Magic City. There is a low bungalow with buildings almost next to each other, which can be called the slums of the Magic City. At this moment, on the intricate path, 2 Bokatan armed personnel are chasing several survivors. Those survivors were panicked and pushed each other. At this time, it seemed that as long as they ran past their peers, their chances of survival would be greatly increased. But they didn't seem to be from this area. In a panic, they quickly ran into a dead end and watched the Bokatans approaching step by step in despair. However, at this time, a survivor suddenly shouted, "What is that?" Everyone looked up and saw a shadow suddenly rushed over their heads. From one building to another. The sky was dim, and the figure was like a ghost, almost invisible. And just like this, one of the 2 Bokatans had a skull exploded and fell to the ground. The other Bokatan changed color, screamed in fear, and fired wildly in the direction where the shadow disappeared. Unfortunately, it aimed in the wrong direction, because the next moment, the shadow rushed out from behind it again. Blood splattered, and the dark shadow passed by like the god of death, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. 2 Bokatans died instantly, and the survivors who survived the disaster were confused and terrified. The same scene has happened many times in this area in a small range. As the survivors gradually gathered, the legend about this terrifying shadow gradually spread. The survivors in this area are saying that there is a ghostly shadow with an unclear face, which is extremely powerful and hunts Bokatans everywhere, but no one has ever seen his appearance. And this person is none other than Lin Kuan, who has practiced air sniping to perfection. At this moment, it is already past 11 o'clock. This area of bungalows is an excellent hunting spot he found. This place is far away from the city and the main force of the Bokatans, but very close to the survivors' base. Most of the humans and Bokatans active here are scattered, and the complex terrain creates an excellent opportunity for Lin Kuan's slaughter. In less than an hour, he has slaughtered 20 Bokatans. Excluding the loss of energy recovery potions, he still has 17 contribution points left. Lin Kuan is a little excited. His experience is also constantly increasing, and level 8 is already in sight. This area is too suitable for his hunting. After Mario's jumping ability is improved, his mobility has been unprecedentedly improved. Before, Mario's skills were too limited, but now, he can move freely between buildings. In the absence of clear light, he relied on Mario's jumping ability to leap between buildings like a ghost. Those scattered Bokatans had no way to deal with him, and they couldn't even see his shadow, and they killed him instantly when he jumped through the air. He really walked like a ghost. With these 2 skills, Lin Kuan is the biggest swindler in this area, hunting and killing in secret. These Bokatans came here to pick up humans, but they never dreamed that they would become the hunting target of humans. But what made Lin Kun depressed was that he killed 20 Bokatans in a row, but he was still the 6th in the region. Lu Rui, who was the 5th in front, always led him steadily by 2 contribution points. If he can't overtake before the settlement, he will lose 1 contribution point in the settlement reward. Lin Kun paused for a moment, consumed 10 contribution points directly, and drew a card. The card soon appeared. Name: Vibranium Spear. Type: Item card. Item card grade: F level. Description: This is a 1.6 meter long spear weapon made of vibranium and has technology from Wakanda. And the spear can absorb the energy carried by some attacks. After reaching a certain level, the absorbed energy can be released in the form of attack. Tip: The weapon is divided into 2 parts and can be separated and saved. Do you materialize? Is this a vibranium weapon? Lin Kun looked at it, his eyes lit up, and he materialized it without hesitation. Soon, a dark and heavy vibranium spear appeared in Lin Kun's hand. This is the standard weapon of the Wakanda female warrior in the Marvel system. This thing is extremely tough and has strong destructive power. The vibranium spear is here. Is the vibranium shield far away? Lin Kun immediately took action, and while leaping, he threw out the spear directly, nailing a Bokatan alive. Vibranium weapons are very brutal. Whether thrown out as a javelin or held in hand-to-hand combat with the Bokatan, they are very impressive. None of the weapons and defenses in the hands of the Bokatan can withstand Lin Kun's shot. The sky is dim. Lin Kun stood on the balcony of an old house, looking for a target. He held back his strength and would not return until he killed the 5th one. At this time, a burst of fire and explosion suddenly rose at the exit of this suburban building. It seems to be a military person. Lin Kun was not surprised. This place was not far from the survivors' base, and it was not the dangerous demon city. The military would not abandon the survivors here. What made Lin Kun's pupils shrink was, at that position, a figure suddenly appeared. That was the Bokatan telekineticist. A trace of blood red appeared in Lin Kun's eyes, and he immediately jumped down from the roof and headed straight in that direction. That telekinetic master was naturally not Bakan, but an ordinary Bokatan telekinetic master, even worse than the one Lin Kun encountered in Longcheng Dijing community, with a combat power of only about level 10. But it can already form enough oppression on the conventional battlefield. At the exit of the building complex, a platoon of the military was exchanging fire with a group of Bokatans. A large number of survivors gathered here, all of whom were rescued from the community. The military force was divided into 2, half of them retreated with the survivors, and the other half, led by platoon leader Xiao Yi, fought with the Bokatans. Both sides suffered casualties until this Bokatan telekinetic master floated out from the depths of the community, and the military's artillery position at the front was instantly destroyed. Xiao Yi led the team to retreat urgently, shouting while exchanging fire, "Cover him! Cover him!" The man they were covering was a man wearing a bulletproof vest. The man was also well proportioned, but he was obviously not a military man. He seemed to be just a survivor. At this time, he quickly moved forward from the back. As the military soldiers attracted firepower and provided cover, he suddenly stuck his head out, stretched out his hands, and made a bow-drawing gesture out of thin air. Then, a light lit up in his palm, and a bow of light flashed, and an arrow shot out. The first arrow was destroyed by the telekinetic master in the air, and crushed into light dust under the telekinesis, but the man immediately shot out 3 arrows. 4 arrows in front and back. The telekinetic master used telekinesis to freeze the bullet very easily, but he was very tired and afraid of these light arrows. The 4th arrow finally couldn't resist, was shot through in the air, fell directly, and was shot dead on the spot. The Bokatan armed personnel below were instantly in a panic. How could Xiao Yi miss this opportunity? He attacked fiercely when he got it. The offensive and defensive momentum was reversed instantly, and the Bokatans were killed and retreated in a hurry. The man shot 4 arrows, and his body shook for a while. He was obviously unstable. The 2 warriors behind him took him to the survivors and protected him. The survivors and warriors all surrounded him. Too amazing, a Bokatan telekineticist was killed with 4 arrows. That guy must be at least level 10, right? I've never seen anyone kill a Bokatan telekineticist so quickly. They have experts, and we have experts too. I know you are Lu Rui, who ranks 5th today. Is that your real name? Oh my god, He is the 5th in that area. Great, we are saved, we are saved. Lu Rui's face turned pale, but he also smiled when he heard it, as if he was very proud of the feeling of being surrounded and pursued, and said, 5th is nothing, and I can't get a few contribution points. Tomorrow I will strive for 4th. With my ability, the top 3 is not a problem. This naturally caused another exclamation. Over there, the battle was almost over, and everyone felt relieved and safe. Lin Qun came up from behind and saw this scene. The telekineticist was shot dead by Lu Rui with 1 arrow, and Xiaoyi led people to hunt down the remaining Bacatans. So, he was the guy who was firmly suppressing himself. Judging from the light arrow just now, this Lu Rui is at least a B-level talent. But he is also a ruthless person. Lin Qun turned his eyes and prepared to secretly attack and kill a few Bacatans. He still wanted to fight for the 5th place today. But before he made a move, his ears suddenly moved and he heard a familiar buzzing sound. His face changed instantly, and he looked up and saw that in the distance, the Bacatan light attack ship was rushing towards this side at a high speed, at a very fast speed, and it was closing in quickly as if it was asking for death. The rocket launcher and machine gun had been extended, aiming at the ground military forces and survivors here. The Bacatan attack ship flew past from high in the sky. Wherever it passed, the ground exploded. The missiles dropped and the sweeping machine guns lit up a terrible line of death on the ground. The survivors and soldiers who failed to evade along the way were instantly killed. The cries resounded everywhere, and both the soldiers and the survivors were desperately evading. Xiaoyi shouted, "Evade! Evade! Everyone evade!" The Bacatan light attack ship jumped over their heads, as if provoking them. The lowest altitude was less than 50 meters, and it flew right over their heads. Then, it pulled up sharply in the distance, made a big turn in the air, and came again at high speed. A missile directly exploded a 50mm machine gun fire point on the ground. The soldiers at that point were covered in blood. They kept firing desperately even though they saw it rushing towards them. As long as the 50mm machine guns hit a few times, the fragile structure of this light attack ship would be directly broken, and the entire attack ship would be torn apart like a paper kite. But they failed, and they were the ones who were destroyed in the end. Those roaring bullets did not hit the target at all. They were deflected by the electromagnetic deflection shield before approaching the Bacatan attack ship and flew away. Then, this firepower point was penetrated. That was the powerful technology that the Bacatan attack ship was proud of. Conventional metal shells would be discovered and responded by its intelligent system before hitting it, activating the deflection shield and instantly changing the attack course. Unless it was attacked intensively, it would be difficult for a single firepower to cause substantial damage to it. Therefore, at this moment, it struck quickly, flew low again, and pulled up with lightning, like a proud eagle, playing with countless humans under its feet. On the ground, the survivors and military soldiers had scattered and hidden. Xiaoyi and Lu Rui hid in one place, watching the Bacatan attack ship raging in the sky, and gritted their teeth. "Mr. Lu, do you have a way to get it down?" Their formation had been torn apart, and they were suppressed here and bombarded indiscriminately. Sooner or later, they would all be blown to death by this attack ship. Lu Rui gritted his teeth, exchanged a bottle of golden potion from the system mall, drank it in one gulp, and his face regained some color. He found a hidden position and shot an arrow directly into the sky. However, it still failed. His arrow was not a metal projectile, but it was too slow after all. The attack ship pulled up and dodged in an instant, which exposed the position of the two people. It quickly lowered its altitude again, flew at a very low altitude, bombed in the face, and bombed Lu Rui and Xiaoyi into fleeing in embarrassment. Fortunately, Xiaoyi seemed to have some speed skills. He ran away with Lu Rui and really avoided this round of attacks. But he and Lu Rui looked at each other, and both were sweating. They almost brushed shoulders with death just now. If they were half a step slower, they would be shot alive. Lu Rui sat on the ground with his buttocks. The pride just now was gone. He looked at the Bacatan attack ship that was constantly sweeping the sky, and a deep sense of powerlessness surged in his heart. This real war machine is simply not something that their flesh and blood can contend with. He is ranked 5th in the Dongcheng district area, but he can't compete with it. Xiaoyi moved his eyes and gritted his teeth and said, "Cover me, I want to go to the command vehicle. I can't watch it blow up all these survivors." Xiao Yi understood that they had been completely suppressed and could not fight back. The only way to solve or drive away this attack ship was to call for reinforcements, otherwise, they would just wait to die. But he didn't get a response from Lu Rui beside him. He turned his head and took a look, and was immediately shocked. Lu Rui was staring blankly in one direction. Just now, the Botan attack ship completed an ultra-low altitude flyby and rushed towards the dilapidated buildings in the distance. At the moment when it was about to show off its skills like before, a ghostly shadow suddenly jumped out from that position, among the buildings that should have been empty. The shadow seemed to have been dormant on the roof for a long time, and stepped on it and jumped up to a height of more than 10 meters. Adding the height of the building he jumped from, his height exceeded 50 meters in this jump. Everyone was shocked, and even the Botan attack ship urgently raised its altitude. Xiao Yi's pupils shrank for a while, and he almost thought he had seen it wrong. A flesh and blood body, can it jump so high? Xiao Yi took a breath of cold air. He wants to jump up directly. But how is this possible? He can't jump that high. Wait, how did he do it? At this moment, he was shocked to see that the shadow in the air was about to fail to jump up, but at this moment, it stepped into the air and made a double jump in the air, which completely violated the laws of physics. Like a game character or a martial arts master, he didn't need to rely on anything. He just swiped his feet in the air and jumped up again. This jump was more than 10 meters high, which was far beyond the expectations of the Botan people. He stepped on the top of the Botan attack ship unexpectedly. Everyone who saw this scene was shocked. They never expected that such a guy would appear in this situation. Is that a spear in that guy's hand? What kind of spear is that can tear open the armor of the Botan attack ship? Lu Rui murmured. At this moment, it was none other than Lin Qun who jumped up. He had been looking for an opportunity since the attack ship appeared. Metal shells would be deflected, but what if others jumped up? The arrogant low-altitude flight of the Botan people in this attack ship gave Lin Qun hope. But he understood that he only had one chance, and if he failed once, the Bokatans would no longer fly at low altitudes and might even chase him and kill him. Therefore, he had been dormant and hidden just now. Even if he looked at the explosions outside, he is also waiting. Waiting for the best opportunity to spring forward. But now, he successfully jumped directly above the Botan attack ship, took out the vibranium spear he just obtained, stabbed it directly towards the armor of the Botan attack ship, and pulled it. Pull away. The armor of the Botan attack ship was like paper in front of the vibranium spear, and a terrifying hole was instantly torn open. However, the Botan attack ship also discovered Lin Qun, an uninvited guest. It moved at high speed and almost threw Lin Qun off. Fortunately, his physique was amazing. At the critical moment, he jumped in along the hole he had opened and aimed a spear first. One of them dies, and then the headshot girl's ability is activated, and she starts a killing spree inside the Botan attack ship. The Botan attack ship is larger than a human fighter jet, and its internal structure is like a small spaceship. There are 6 Bokatans inside. They were crushing humans arrogantly and excitedly, but who knew that the god of death would fall from the sky? Lin Qun came in and killed 3 Bokatans in an instant. The attack ship completely lost control, roared and disintegrated in midair, and crashed into the depths of the buildings. Behind, the military soldiers and survivors were all stunned. They never expected that such a scene would happen. The ferocious Botan attack ship was shot down from midair by just one person. What's even more surprising is that the man used a spear to smash the armor of the attack ship. You know, the armor of the Botan attack ship is not fragile iron. Although it is also light armor, it is also reinforced. To do this, it sacrifices a certain flight altitude. But such an attack ship was stabbed to death by that man with a spear. Even Xiao Yi was dumbfounded. Is that some kind of special contribution point exchange? Lu Rui was also frightened, and even felt a sense of frustration. He just thought that flesh and blood could not compete, but now that person has done it. And in such an outrageous way. You know, he is 5th in the region and can't even do it. How did that guy do it? He has always felt that he is already a strong player in the first tier of the Eastern District. What he can't do, others shouldn't be able to do either. But now, no. That movement skill, then he is not a genius. He even believes that he is a hidden martial arts master. The attack ship was too low, and it only took a few breaths to fall forward and backward. Lin Kuan killed 4 Bokatans, and when he rushed to the semi-enclosed cab, he saw 2 Bokatans inside activate the ejection escape device, soaring into the sky in the blink of an eye and escaping. At this time, the entire light attack ship began to disintegrate, and explosions were everywhere, which made it easier for Lin Kuan to escape. He didn't need an escape seat, so he activated Mario Jump and jumped out of the attack ship. Less than 2 seconds after he jumped out of the attack ship, the Bokatan attack ship crashed to the ground, exploded among the intricate buildings, and several old bungalows or duplexes around were instantly overturned and collapsed. However, Lin Kuan had already made a double jump in the air and successfully avoided the impact. Then, he landed steadily and glanced at the 2 Bokatan escape seats not far away. The distance was too close, and even if they ejected to escape, they were also hit hard and didn't bounce out far. Lin Kuan's eyes condensed, and he killed in that direction without hesitation. This time, it was the Bokatans who ran away for their lives. The 2 Bokatan pilots were so scared that their hearts and galls were broken. They had never seen such a crazy character among humans. One person challenged their attack ship alone and succeeded. He rushed into their attack ship and killed 4 Bokatans in a few breaths. What kind of monster is this? There is such a powerful existence among humans. They desperately ran away, took out the communication device, called for help from the surrounding Bokatans, and frantically called the Bokatan command center. They wanted to inform their superiors about this terrible human. At the same time, at the entrance and exit of the building complex, Xiaoyi and others were also somewhat shocked to see the scene in front of them. Although the Bokatan light attack ship is a great threat to the ground forces, it is only the basic air force of the Bokatan. The military has shot down many Bokatan attack ships, but they have never seen or heard of anyone who can kill a Bokatan attack ship single-handedly. It seems to be a scene that can only be seen in a personal hero movie. The survivors talked about it, and many people seemed to have seen that person, and they were very sure of it. It's definitely him, he saved me, that ghostly shadow, I have a deep impression. It's him. It's really him, I have seen him. If it weren't for him, I would have been killed by the Bokatans, and I couldn't get out at all. I know he is powerful and maybe a master, but I didn't expect him to be so powerful. Oh my god, he is more powerful than Lu Rui, he can sink a Bokatan attack ship, is he in the top 3 in the region? The words of these survivors corroborated the scene just now, but Xiaoyi had never heard of such a person in Dongcheng district, and his eyes suddenly condensed. Such a master, must find out who he is. Such combat power is a monster. At that moment, Xiaoyi ordered the deputy platoon leader to take the survivors back to the survivor base immediately. At the same time, he pulled out a group of elite teams and said, "Let's go back, no matter who that person is, we must catch up with him." Xiaoyi's idea was to let Lu Rui go back to rest. Those who can kill the 10th level telekinetic master of Bokatan are treasures for both humans and the Magic City, and should be protected. But Lu Rui shook his head and said, "Platoon leader Xiao, I want to go with you too. I want to see who he is." He still couldn't believe it in his heart. That was the height that a gifted person could reach in a short time. Although it was outrageous, there was still a voice in his heart saying, what if that is really a martial arts master hidden in the world? Because this idea can find a reason for the gap between him and the other party, making him feel better. But they are destined to not find Lin Kuan. Because they just set off, Lin Kuan has blocked the last fleeing Bokatan driver over there. 2 Bokatan drivers, one was shot in the head by Lin Kuan, and the last one hid in the alley and fell in the mud, in a mess. Where was their previous arrogance and arrogance? It also held a set of what seemed to be a communication device in one hand, but its arm holding the thing was blown off by Lin Kuan. The communication device fell into the water, and the voice of the Bokatan people came out of it. Then Lin Kuan stepped out. Mario's power was activated, and his power doubled to 28 points, and he crushed the communicator with one foot. The Bokatan looked at this scene, and the fear on his face gradually faded, replaced by a twisted and crazy look. He hissed with the translator he carried with him, "It's useless for you to destroy my communicator. This city will belong to us Bokatans. Sooner or later, we will find you. By then, not only will you die, but your relatives and friends will all be killed by us. You are very strong, maybe you can live a little longer, but believe me, it will be endless pain. because in the end you will find that all your kind in the city will be killed by us. No matter how strong you are, you can only stand alone in the sea of blood and corpses to face our entire civilization. Ha 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 ha. Bang. Its grim smile stopped abruptly. Lin Kuan did not leave immediately. He just disassembled the vibranium spear and put it in the storage bag. He stood in the flowing blood and looked at the corpse silently. Now, it was the Botan who died, but he knew that if the situation continued to deteriorate, then his words would not be an exaggeration. That day would eventually come. Only the top Botan warriors like Bakan can sweep away ordinary survivors. Once the military is defeated, the situation will completely collapse, and no one can stop the Botan regular army and those top Botan warriors. And once most of them are dead, no matter how powerful Lin Kuan is, it will be meaningless, and the sea of Botan people will drown him. Lin Kuan knew that he didn't have much time. He must hurry up and become stronger, as strong as Bakan. Only then can he stand up and resist their civilization. Lin Kuan retreated quietly and disappeared into the darkness. The surrounding Bokatans noticed the crash of their attack ships and were approaching this side. This place is no longer a place to stay for a long time. Lin Kuan encountered several Bokatans along the way and killed them immediately. He is now strong, and he is very strong in close combat and long-range sniping. The average Bokatans, if there are no more than 5 of them, cannot threaten him in a head-on encounter. Lin Kuan retreated calmly. Xiao Yi and his companions were disappointed and did not find him. At this time, the Bokatans were also gathering, so they could not search any more and could only return. Lu Rui did not have the chance to kill the Bokatans on the way. So, the 5th place suffered another round of blow. He watched the 6th place, Yi Ying, who was originally surpassed by him, climb up before the early morning settlement, and finally surpassed him and pushed him to the 6th place. Lu Rui was very depressed about this. At this time, Lin Kuan had returned to the survivors' base ahead of them. 0 hours, 0 minutes, 06 seconds. As soon as Lin Kuan entered the survivor base with the fast track of the pass, rows of text appeared on the interface in front of him. Yesterday's ranking has been locked. Congratulations, Yi Ying. You are ranked 5th in the regional ranking Modu DC zone. Award 5 civilization contribution points. With the ranking settlement, 5 contribution points were instantly credited. Lin Kuan's total contribution points reached 21 points. He noticed that although the Bokatans had set up many blockades in the DC area, they did not seem to have gained the upper hand in the battlefield in this area. Not only were there more and more people in the survivor base, but the safety zone radiated by the survivor base continued to expand. On the way back, Lin Kuan began to patrol within a 1.2 kilometer range, and took the initiative to welcome the survivors who had defected to the survivor base. The survivor base became more and more crowded, and Lin Kuan stuffed all his things into the Chenkin bag. From the outside, he was thin and had nothing, and he did not attract attention. Only the soldiers who checked the pass were surprised. Unexpectedly, Lin Kuan went out alone and actually came back. Lin Kuan entered the survivor base and went straight back to his room. He was inconspicuous, so there was no episode along the way. But he noticed that as more people came, the security in the survivor base obviously declined, or in other words, everyone was not so honest. Some small groups surrounded the lone survivors and secretly robbed supplies. The robbed people did not dare to say anything, let alone go to the government or military management. There were also some women who stood outside in revealing clothes, flirting with men when they saw them, blatantly using their bodies for business. There were many women with good figures, faces and temperament. The higher-ups seemed to have turned a blind eye to this, because there was no manpower and not enough energy to take care of it. Under the current circumstances, it was already remarkable that the Federation could build such a shelter to ensure everyone's safety. I am afraid that they would be powerless to do more things. People with strength and those with military or government connections can live better here than others, but not everyone has these. People always have to try their best to survive. Lin Kuan also understood this. He hurried past, and his energy was stable at 6 points, so he had no time to enjoy any service. Back to the cell, everything was normal here. The old 5 was greedy, but he was also reliable and capable. Now the survivor base was overcrowded, and no one was sent to them. Back here, Lin Kuan can finally rest. Moreover, He has 21 contribution points, so he can have a double draw. When Lin Kun returned to the survivor base, it was in the suburbs of the DC area of the Magic City. The fallen attack ship was burning fiercely. Many Bakan people gathered around, and they were like ghosts under the light of the fire. Most of them here were Bakan armed personnel, not regular troops. At this time, a roar came from afar. Another Bakan attack ship arrived and landed the next batch of Bakan investigation teams. They checked the surrounding situation, asked a lot of questions, and finally initiated a communication. This communication went straight to the depths of the Bakan sailing ship in the DC area. After being reported through layers of reports, the news finally reached the personal cabin of the commander of the giant ship, Bakan. All the natives selected for the battlefield can obtain talents. This is a gift from the kingdom of God. But with the weakness of humans, they can sink one of our attack ships by themselves in just 3 blue star days. Bakan narrowed his eyes. Interesting. It slowly stood up and stood in front of the window where the dark night and the firelight intertwined, staring at the direction of the survivor base of the 6th prison in the demon city in the distance, which it could not see from its angle. Its voice was cold, as if it came from hell. Such a human, we don't need to know who he is. He is as small as an ant to our Bakan civilization. Maybe when I make a move, he will disappear after being affected. But this is not the first case of such a human in the past 2 days. It seems that we should speed up the pace of advancement. Within 30 days, we must kill all the humans in the demon city and build this place into our forward base. Or, according to the rules, use the authority to launch weapons of mass destruction once, so that this place will become a wasteland that no one can use. No matter how the situation develops, we are already invincible. The 20 million humans in this city will eventually become the wealth of our Bakan civilization. The crimson sky was reflected in its many eyes, like the embers of the city's destruction. Behind it, the warship communications officer who was reporting was crawling on the ground, not daring to breathe. The communications officer's body trembled slightly. He knew that the higher-ups did not immediately launch weapons of mass destruction throughout the city. There were restrictions on the rules, but also because they had bigger plans. They wanted to take over the Magic City and use some of the existing urban facilities in the Magic City to set up an ultimate weapon of their civilization here before the blockade was lifted. That was the key to their competition with other civilizations. But if the situation did not develop as expected, they would at least recover their capital and completely raze the Magic City to the ground. At 1 a.m., Xiaoyi also returned to the survivor base of the 6th prison in the Magic City. He did not rest. He unloaded his equipment and reported the emergency of this operation to his superior, Captain Chu. Commander Chu was also surprised. Are you sure? One person sank a Bakan light attack ship. You must know that currently, in our DC area, only 2 people, Sha Qing and Qi Zichuan, are known to be able to do this. Personally, Qi Zichuan is not here, so, is it possible that it is Sha Qing? Quote, I understand. Sha Qing has never left my survivor base since she entered it. It's definitely not her, there is another person. Xiao Yi was conclusive. He had also communicated with previous survivors, but the information available was still very limited. He said, but judging from his active position, this person is probably also in our survivor base. And if he is on the ranking, I think he must be in the top 10. Do you know how many people have come into the survivor base in the past half day? And you can't even provide the other party's facial features, which is impossible to check. Captain Chu frowned. If he doesn't want to be captured by us if you find him, it will be even harder. Xiao Yi also fell silent. He just felt that such a strong man should find him and find out who he was. But he also understands. There are advantages to the current survivors joining the military, but there are also disadvantages. Especially for the strong ones, they have to hunt the Barkadans to gain contribution points. Instead of joining the military and dividing the heads between them, it is better to act on their own. The danger may be more dangerous, but these people themselves are powerful. The danger may not be a big deal to other survivors, but they can gain more contribution points in a short period of time. Moreover, there is no need to be delayed by the military. Total freedom. After a moment of silence, Captain Chu said, no matter what, This person deserves our attention, and I will report this information to the division headquarters. This news was quickly passed to the 6th Prison Survivor Base Command Center. Fu Kai, commander of the 465th Infantry Division and military director of the 6th Prison Survivor Base in the Demon City, was surprised when he heard the news, but he was silent for a moment before saying, "It seems that we humans are far more powerful and capable than we imagined. He has potential, but he doesn't want to stand up. He must have his reasons. Everyone's situation is different now. Maybe joining us is not the best choice for him. Teacher, I don't quite understand. This is for ordinary survivors or those with little strength. If they join us and get the support of weapons we provide, we are helping them, but for those with strength, that may not be the case." Fu Kai smiled and said, "Those who have strength do not lack the means to kill the Bakatans, they have contribution points, and they do not lack weapons. What they lack is the opportunity to improve their abilities and kill the Bakatans. But when it comes to the battlefield where our military soldiers are located is much more dangerous than the one where they survived. The risks are increased. Our soldiers cannot give their heads to others in combat situations. If our military sends them to, he can't do anything on his own, so do you think it's more like he's getting help from us?" Quote, Commander Chu, actually, I didn't understand it before. This is what Xiaoxia told me. She told me today that although the improvement plan we designed for her is good, it also takes up a lot of her time. That's when I realized that not every potential survivor would be more cost-effective to join the military. On the contrary, only those who are weak and powerful to a certain extent are suitable to act with us. In fact, the most fundamental reason behind this is that our military is currently stretched thin, and whether it can resist the Bakatans is still a question mark. There is simply no time, energy and resources to train anyone. No matter how potential there is, it is meaningless. The situation is like this. Their joining us is more about sacrificing themselves to help us, rather than us giving them help. In this case, it is better to let them grow wild and make their own decisions. Maybe there will be unexpected surprises." Fu Kai said, "So, we don't have to look for him deliberately, but if he shows up on his own initiative or confirms his identity, we can ask him to come see me directly, no matter what time or place." Lin Kuan didn't know what impact this round of actions had on the senior management of the survivor base and the Bakatans. He only felt that his steps were in vain. When he returned to his residence, he found that everyone was awake. They seemed to get along very well and were sitting around eating biscuits. When they saw Lin Kuan coming back, they all stood up. Li Jia said, "Brother Lin, how was your harvest this time? Why didn't you call us?" Qian Yingying said, "We slept like that. If Brother Lin wants to find us, he is afraid that we won't be able to get up. Manager Qian is right, you sleep like a dead pig, how can I bear to call you?" Lin Kuan joked. Li Jia hehe. "Indeed, even if I call you, I may not be able to get up. This time at the survivor base, it was the most solid sleep I have ever had, but next time I will definitely not let go and go with you. I also want to contribute more points, not to mention upgrading talents but also to redeem some black technology equipment. There are so many things in the contribution point mall, my mouth is watering." Quote. Lin Kuan asked curiously, "Didn't you kill a few Bakatans? What's your contribution?" "I only have a few contribution points." Li Jia showed a shy smile. "I have taken a fancy to an electrically enhanced weapon in the mall, which seems to be able to cooperate with my abilities and exert greater combat effectiveness. However, it's worth 10 contribution points, but I only have 7 now, so I'm far from saving them all." He said 7 contribution points, and others were a little envious. For Qian Yingying, Zhao Wen and Li Xinghe, 7 contribution points are beyond their dreams. Qian Yingying and Li Xinghe only had 1 or 2 in hand, and Zhao Wen was even worse, having no contribution points. Not everyone can be as powerful as the forest group. It is very easy to harvest and slaughter the Bakatans. In fact, for the vast majority of survivors, killing a Bakatan is more difficult than climbing to the sky. Those with some ability, a few contribution points are already pretty good. Lin Kuan didn't mention the fact that he had killed the Bakatan attack ship. He had never been a showy person. He said half-jokingly, "Okay, let's get together next time and see if you can gather 10 contribution points, but I have to tell you if you meet the Bakatans, I won't let you go." It seems that contribution points cannot be transferred. Otherwise, Lin Kun might try to lend 3 contribution points to Li Jia, first allowing Li Jia to get the powerful equipment he longs for to improve his strength. Li Jia said, "This is natural. Hehe, my ability is not limited. I also have fighting ability." Lin Kun has seen Li Jia's ability, and it is indeed quite powerful. It can even penetrate ordinary Bakatans and electrocute them alive. However, the release distance is also limited. After the current exceeds a certain distance, the power will plummet. This is unavoidable. Having dealt with the Bakatan people a lot, Lin Kun estimated that the average Bakatan's physique should be between 14 to 15. From a numerical perspective, the power of Li Jia's ability is also considerable. Lin Kun was a little curious. How many times can you use your ability at one time? I mean, does your ability to discharge consume anything? Li Jia was stunned for a moment and said, "Yes, when I discharge electricity once, it consumes a value of dark energy." "Wait, you only consume 1 point at a time, why do I have to use 2 points of dark energy at a time?" Li Xinghe suddenly spoke, with a look of surprise on his face. Li Jia was startled. "You want to use 2 points. But my dark energy is very small. I only added a little to the upper limit after 2 levels. I now have 4 points of dark energy. What is needed to restore 1 point by natural absorption for half an hour? I can release my ability up to 4 times at a time." "Oh," Li Xinghe finally showed a little bit of relief. "Then I am better than you. Although I am only level 2, I still have 6 points. No, even if I am more powerful than you, my dark energy is still I can only use the skill 3 times, but I'm still not as good as you. Why am I so useless? I look like a fake B-level talent." The two of them talked to each other, and when they came back to their senses, they found that the remaining 3 people were looking directly at them. Dark energy, what is it? Lin Kun suddenly discovered. The dark energy that Li Xinghe and Li Jia were discussing here didn't have this value at all. After exchanging information, they discovered that it turned out that only Li Xinghe and Li Jia had the value of dark energy. Their skills consumed dark energy instead of energy. Qian Yingying's talent level was not high and only related to physical strength. It consumes neither energy nor dark energy, and Zhao Wen, like Lin Kun, needs energy to use clairvoyance skills. Zhao Wen said, "My energy is relatively high. Although I am only at level 1, I still have 12 points. This energy can last for up to 6 to 10 minutes of observation. If the common vision skill is activated, it will be shortened to half a minute to 1 minute. Of course, if the target moves too fast and I have to keep following it, the time will be reduced, and no matter how fast it is, I can't keep up." 12 o'clock. It's amazing. I've never seen anyone who can surpass human standards without upgrading. Li Jia was amazed. "I really don't know what the effect will be if the attribute reaches 20. 20, that's twice the standard value of a human being. Isn't it completely inhumane?" Zhao Wen and Qian Yingying also looked yearning. Lin Kun's mouth twitched when he heard this. He can actually answer this question. But they were all friends, and he was still embarrassed to be from Versailles. However, what he was a little concerned about was that Zhao Wen had 12 points of energy. This is almost the same as Lin Kun in the beginning, and Lin Kun is a time traveler, born with strong energy, and this Zhao Wen. No wonder this girl is so fierce. Can she not be fierce if she is so energetic? Lin Kun seemed to have finally found the answer to Zhao Wen's wild question. After this comparison, Lin Kun realized that everyone's talents and abilities are different, and the consumption is also different. Low-level talents are just physical bonuses, which only consume physical strength, while higher-level talents consume energy and dark energy according to different types. Lin Kun currently has 3 skills, 2 of which are physical and 1 is energy. He has not yet drawn a skill card that requires dark energy to activate, so it is normal that he does not have this value of dark energy. Because it is useless to give it to him. When he draws the relevant card, maybe he will have this data. This gave Lin Kun a clearer understanding of everyone's talents. Even if it is an incredible superpower, if you want to change and affect reality, there must be consumption, and one energy is converted into another energy. Li Xinghe asked curiously, "Boss, since you also consume energy, your energy must be very high, right?" Li Jia was also curious. "Brother, your energy will not be 20, right?" Lin Kuan smiled politely, almost. Li Jia and others all gasped, their eyes widened, looking at him as if they were looking at a monster. Lin Kuan thought, if I say I am already 24 years old, and my physical fitness is also 20 years old, how will you respond? However, although Lin Kuan's energy is 24 years old, he actually doesn't feel anything, that is, his energy is much better than before, but he is not full of energy most of the time, and he actually prefers sage time. The survivors, base is safe, Li Jia and his friends have a good rest, and they are not short of food and drink. At this time, they are excited and chat all the time, and they are familiar with each other. Lin Kuan is a little tired, leaning against the corner and listening silently, but he also feels a kind of peaceful fireworks. This seems to be better than him hiding in a cold and deserted house alone. The latter is just for survival, and only at this time does he seem to have a real feeling of being alive. He quietly activates his ability and starts to draw cards silently. Consume 20 contribution points. 2 consecutive draws. The first card is another consumable item card. Chapter 51. Consume 20 contribution points to draw 2 cards in a row. The first card appeared quickly. A virtual card that only Lin Kuan could see gradually appeared in front of him. The information on it was also quickly presented. Name: Fire Talisman *3. Type: Consumable item card. Item card grade: F level. Description: Use this item card to obtain 3 simple fire talismans. Throw them out with blood and use them immediately to release a fire attack spell. Do you want to materialize a consumable item card? Talismans are the most common and basic things in the immortal system. 1 card can be exchanged for 3 talismans, but I don't know how powerful they are. Lin Kuan glanced at the people who were talking happily, and quietly chose to materialize in the corner. The card instantly appeared in Lin Kuan's palm. As Lin Kuan used it, the card turned into a faint white light and disappeared, and 3 fire talismans appeared in Lin Kuan's palm. The fire talisman looked a bit ordinary, with yellow talisman paper and runes written in cinnabar, which looked exactly the same as those sold online. And it was light, and the paper seemed a bit fragile and thin. Can it really be used? But the system can't draw a fake, and there are only 3 of these things. Wouldn't it be a waste to use one for testing when not in combat? 10 contribution points for 3 fire talismans means 3 fire attack spells. This fire talisman is worth 3 contribution points, which is about the same as RPG. I think it shouldn't be too bad, right? Next time against the Bakans, try the fire talisman. Lin Kuan imagined the scene. He slapped his Chenkin bag, and drew out a fire talisman and threw it out. Wow! He became a monk in a second. Lin Kuan was eager to try. He quietly put away the fire talisman and looked at the result of the next draw. After 2 consecutive draws, the second card was slowly emerging. Before seeing the effect, just by looking at the picture on the card, Lin Kuan's already weird expression suddenly became even weirder. He felt like he had drawn something extraordinary. Because on the card, there was a beautiful body of a girl. It was a body, and only a body, just like a screenshot from a beautiful picture, only a part of the girl's body, and the rest of the picture seemed to be outside the card. Moreover, the upper body was extremely proud, with fair skin, tall mountains, and a slim waist. In the hazy robe, she sat upright, and there was a feeling of being cold and independent in the world. People dared not offend. Lin Kuan immediately looked up at the others with a guilty conscience as if he was watching a small movie at school, as if others could see his card drawing skill interface. But he soon realized that this was purely a psychological effect. What kind of card is this? Lin Kuan's eyes moved quickly. And the content of this card also surprised Lin Kuan a little. The description on the card is: Name: Fairies Concentration. Type: Skill card. Description: Use this skill card to stay focused and continuously restore energy. Special note: this card is one of the fairy decks. Collect the Fairies Concentration, Fairies Embroidered Shoes, Fairies Hairpin, and Fairies Incense to synthesize the Fairy Gaze card, and you will successfully get the Fairy's attention. It's a skill, or a deck of cards. Lin Kuan looked at this description and his mind moved. It's a skill to restore energy. No wonder this card only has half a picture. The protagonist is not the fairy, but the concentration she is practicing. Lin Kuan quickly used the skill card. Silently, he successfully loaded this skill. After observing it, he was delighted. This skill is actually more like a passive skill. Once mastered, it can be activated all the time when moving and resting. Not only does it not consume energy, but it can also speed up the recovery of energy. Under normal circumstances, if Lin Kun is in action or combat, it is good enough if his energy is not consumed, not to mention recovery, but if he can keep running this skill, he can continue to recover in any state. When resting, the energy recovery speed is more than doubled, and a little energy can be recovered in nearly 10 minutes. Even when in action, with the blessing of the concentration technique, it can achieve at least 20 minutes to recover a little energy. This sounds nothing, but it means that Lin Kun's dependence on blue bottles will be greatly reduced, and the number of contribution points he has left after a hunt will rise sharply. This is exactly the continuous recovery ability that Lin Kun is in urgent need of now. With this skill, combined with the concentration pill, he has both the means of slow recovery and fast replenishment. Even if he encounters a protracted battle, the longer the battle drags on, the slower the rhythm, the more energetic he can be. Recover while fighting. Especially in some situations where no one can take down the other, the opponent is exhausted to death in the continuous confrontation, but he can be full of energy, getting stronger and stronger, and extremely durable. Isn't this too long? Thinking of this, Lin Kun suddenly thought of something and glanced at Zhao Wen in the corner. This concentration technique seems to be applicable to other battlefields. In addition, Lin Kun is somewhat concerned about the card set itself. There are also embroidered shoes, hairpins, incense. A bunch of item cards, but the final synthesis is the gaze of the fairy. Good guy, this sword has collected all the things from the fairy, and can still get the fairy's attention. I stole her magic, and took away her shoes and hairpins, how can she not notice it? When Lin Kun thought of this, he suddenly had an idea. His innate ability is to draw cards infinitely, but the items obtained by drawing cards are all from the real existence or fantasy products of the earth he traveled through. In other words, this fairy should be someone he knows. And who can be called a fairy doesn't have great means. And he is now in two different worlds from the earth. Can the fairy over there still pay attention to him? If so, I don't know, is the attention of this fairy a good thing or a bad thing? That's a fairy in Chinese mythology and fantasy stories, at least it's not something that ordinary people can resist. If you can get her help, what's Bakan? Of course, it's also possible that this fairy thinks that I stole her things and slaps me to death. However, with my card drawing talent, I shouldn't be able to draw any suicide cards. What kind of personality depends on who this fairy is. Unfortunately, this card only shows a piece of underwear and a body with a twig and fruits. At most, you can see a part of the neck above the collarbone, but you can't see her face clearly, so there is no way to judge who she is. While others were still communicating, Lin Kun closed his eyes and began to secretly run the concentration technique. This concentration technique is considered a card from the Eastern world. Although it is also a bonus when used, it is different from the immediate headshot female skill. It requires Lin Kun to digest and master it himself. Only by internalizing it in the heart can you use it freely and activate this skill in any state. When it was running, Lin Kun really felt different. His energy recovery speed in the natural state almost doubled, and he himself felt refreshed. Lin Kun practiced secretly, but he was also looking forward to it. This can be said to be the first gongfa he has drawn. In the future, he may even be able to get more. What kind of Tianlong heart method and immortal sutra are possible? He may even draw the trickery spell. Of course, Lin Kun also understood that he couldn't act too hastily and had to take one step at a time. What he had to do now was to digest the concentration technique and go out to hunt the Bacatans as soon as possible. Late at night, the survivor base of the 6th prison in Magic City. Lin Kun was wandering around in the survivor base. At this time, many survivors in the building were already asleep, but Lin Kun's eyes were shining and he was full of energy. He was wandering around like this, so he certainly wasn't having anything to do. He is adapting to using concentration in any state. This spell is not difficult. After Lin Kun practiced it secretly for an hour or two, he was almost able to activate the concentration skill spontaneously in a quiet state. But this is not the key to Lin Kun. The greatest significance of this skill is that it can recover slowly during combat. The important thing is to be able to use it freely even in action. Therefore, before his energy level had fully recovered, Lin Kuan simply walked out on his own initiative and wandered around the survivor base in the middle of the night, deliberately finding things to do for himself, and practicing how to maintain the concentration technique in various situations. And just as Lin Kuan had judged before, as long as he could use this skill as a passive, he could achieve a slow recovery of energy even while working. All along, when Lin Kuan was hunting the Bokatans outside, he basically relied on blue bottles, because in a tense combat situation, where could he have time to rest? Even if there is time, it is impossible to have that much time to slowly recover. When he can recover, the battle is basically over. This makes Lin Kuan's battery life not high. Although he killed many Bokatans, he made many contributions. All the points are given to the contribution point mall. But with this skill, Lin Kuan is equivalent to having his own endurance. For every 3 points of natural recovery, 1 contribution point can be saved. Maybe he still needs to redeem, but the consumption of contribution points will definitely be greatly reduced. Taken together, the total number of contribution points available to Lin Kuan will directly increase. Lin Kuan practiced hard for a long time and transformed into a demon. He wandered around the survivor base. Some survivors thought that he had secretly done something secretly in the middle of the night and were wary of him. There were also girls who flirted with him and made noises. He said in a coquettish voice, "Brother, what time of day is it now? Why are you coming out so late to play with your sister?" After practicing hard, he succeeded more than half of the time. He was able to activate this skill while remaining semi-conscious. However, he also understood that on a dangerous battlefield, he might have to interrupt again and wanted to completely turn it into his own. A mana returning passive still needs to be gradually adjusted in practice. As he practiced, his energy returned to 24 points, and he became energetic instantly. With such energy, he could stay up for 3 days and 3 nights without any problem. Energetic, Lin Kuan immediately became lively again, his eyes were shining, eager to try, ready to go out to kill monsters again. Hunt the Bokatans, earn contribution points, and improve your strength. This is the royal way. As long as his energy allows, Lin Kuan will definitely take active actions. At that moment, he put the things into the Chenkin bag and took a deep breath. This thing is also very useful. It can greatly shorten the rest time he needs, allowing him to obtain more contribution points in a shorter period of time. At this time, it was already 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. It was dark and quiet outside the prison, but there were still intensive gunshots coming from the depths and far ends of the city. The battlefield in the Magic City has become a complete civilized meat grinder. No one will stop until either side is completely defeated or dead. Lin Kuan passed over the crowds of people lying down and sleeping in the prison, returned to his room, and directly expressed his thoughts, saying, "I want to continue to hunt the Bokatans. Who wants to go together? But we can't all go. Up to 3 people, 2 must stay at home. There are too many people in the survivor base now. After all, they still have supplies here. If they all leave and someone comes in and steals their things, it will be more of a loss than a gain." Although Lin Kuan had a Chenkin bag, the space was limited after all. They bloodbathed the supermarket and found a lot of things, which far exceeded the capacity of his Chenkin bag. After some discussion, everyone decided that Li Jia and Qian Yingying would follow Lin Kuan out, while Li Xinghe and Zhao Wen would stay here. Li Xinghe flattered him and said, "Boss, you are such an iron man. How long have you been back? You barely have any rest before you go out to hunt the Bokatans again. I guess those military soldiers are not as good as you." This physique. Lin Kuan's physique is 20 points, and his energy is 24. When the two are combined, his energy is naturally unlimited. The 3 of them set off directly, and there was a little incident on the way. They actually met Fan Wenchuan and others in prison. They also arrived at the survivor base of the 6th prison in Magic City. But compared with the previous separation, Fan Wenchuan was obviously more haggard, and there were fewer people around him. His wife was missing. When he saw Lin Kuan, he was startled, his eyes flashed, and he said, "Lin Kuan, Li, is Xinghe still with you? Are you willing to join us?" Lin Kuan was stunned for a moment, and it took him a moment to realize that Fan Wenchuan was extending an olive branch to him, not towards him, but towards Li Xinghe. He smiled and shook his head. It's very safe here. I don't think anyone needs to follow anyone. The skinny man's attendant behind Fan Wenchuan frowned and said, Brother Fan kindly invites you, why are you like this? Do you think we still want to find Li Xinghe as our backer? We just came out of 21st, and he but. Before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by Fan Wenchuan's glare. Fan Wenchuan said, Don't get me wrong, I didn't mean that. I just thought that after all, we came out together and we can take care of each other. I can understand that Li Xinghe is very powerful and doesn't want to come, but if you want, we are very welcome. We can make a living here together. Fan Wenchuan said it sincerely. I don't know what he went through along the way. He seemed to have changed a lot. The cunning and sharpness at the survivor base were gone. He seemed to really think that Lin Qun and others might not have a good time either, and wanted to keep each other warm. Lin Qun looked at him and shook his head. Thank you, no need. Fan Wenchuan also nodded and said nothing more. If you need anything, you can come to us at any time. I can help you and I will definitely help you. With that, he laughed with the skinny man. His back seemed much older than before. In the last sentence, he seemed to be sincere. If Lin Qun and others really looked for him, he seemed to really help him if he could. Lin Qun looked at his back and felt a little complicated. In this era and this situation, no one has an easy life. After experiencing more and looking back, those arrogant and unreasonable conflicts with others are actually stupid. Li Jia said softly, It seems that his wife is gone. Lin Qun just shook his head and said, We can't control other people's affairs. Let's go and hunt the Bacatans. Looking for 21 as a backer. He will return to the top 3 of the rankings today. Leaving the survivor base went smoothly. It was already late at night, and the survivors' base was still brightly lit and brilliant. Outside, there is an endless queue as far as the eye can see. The soldier who issued the pass had not yet changed his shift, and was very surprised that Lin Qun came out only a few hours after returning. Lin Qun got the news from him that at least 3 survivor bases will be established in Dongcheng district, which will accommodate nearly 1 million survivors. The population of Magic City is too large. Even after 3 days of disaster, there are still a large number of survivors, far exceeding the capacity limit of the 6th prison survivor base. Lin Qun also confirmed his previous speculation here. The 6th prison where they are located is the 3rd survivor base in Magic City. The 1st and 2nd survivor bases began to absorb survivors earlier and are located in Nancheng District and Bakan District. This means that the military is gradually regaining its footing from the early chaos. After coming out of the base and looking at the long motorcade outside, Li Jia said with some worry, I don't know what's going on in my hometown. He was worried about his parents. We can go back, don't think too much about it yet. Lin Qun patted his shoulder and comforted him. Li Jia nodded vigorously. Of course, Brother Lin, we will all survive and leave the Magic City alive. The safe zone radiated from the survivor base was about 1 kilometer. Lin Qun and the other 3 set off on foot, bypassing the survivor base. This time they did not go further to the outskirts of the city, but moved closer to the city center where they came from. Lin Qun had just sunk an attack ship there. To be cautious, he didn't plan to go there for the time being. That area was almost completely deserted. The streets and buildings were full of traces of battle damage. There were charred corpses on the ground, including those of Bacatans and humans. It's just that the weapons on those human warriors have long since disappeared, and there is nothing of value anymore. The same is true for some supermarkets and shops along the way. A large number of survivors gathered and passed by, and this area was naturally plucked by wild geese. There are many people in the survivor base and supplies are in short supply. What is not valuable now are those vehicles, cheap and expensive, all lying on the roadside. Even if the door is open and the key is inside, no one cares about it. Less than 200 meters away from the radiation area of the survivor base, they encountered the first group of Bacatans. Those were 3 Bacatans, also looking for humans to hunt. The 2 sides met on a narrow road and were very excited, thinking that they had encountered prey. The fight broke out quickly and ended quickly. Lin Qun killed 2, Li Jia dealt with 1, and Qian Yingying was mainly responsible for fire suppression. She is very aware of her own strength. In this situation, there is no room for her to take action. She does not rush to contribute points and just plays support. This is just the beginning. The gathering of a large number of survivors has allowed many Bakan armed personnel to see an opportunity, and they are moving closer, in groups of 3 to 5, to hunt and kill humans. For Lin Kun and the other three, this is exactly what they want. They attacked in all directions, using the cover of night to avoid the large-scale Bakan regular army and hunt for the scattered Bakan armed personnel. Moving forward in the darkness like a ghost. During this process, Lin Kun has been continuously operating the concentration technique, preparing to maintain it consciously first, and then completely turn it into instinct, turning this skill into a passive one. And during the battle, Lin Kun will also consciously recover during rest. In the past, the natural recovery speed of energy was too slow, so it was not necessary, but now it is possible. He can seize all the gaps in the battle to quickly recover energy. The effect of the concentration technique is vividly displayed in every detail. And its effect is also very obvious. During the battle between Lin and Kun, their energy has been continuously restored. At the same time, he is deliberately taking Li Jia for training, giving him the opportunity to fight with the Bakatans and grow in actual combat. Li Jia almost used up all his abilities when he killed a Bakatan before. He attacked like crazy in a panic, with no accuracy at all, so his contribution points have been growing slowly. Now, with Lin Kun's escort, Li Jia dared to go up and fight the Bakatans at close range. He gradually became more accurate and his attacks became calmer. In a dark alley, a Bakatan man collapsed on his back with half of his body charred and a terrifyingly large hole in his neck. In front of it, Li Jia showed an excited expression. "Brother, here we come, 10 contribution points, I have enough." Following Lin Kun on the hunt, Li Jia exhausted 4 discharge opportunities and successfully gained 3 contribution points. Together with his original ones, it was enough to exchange for the discharge weapon he had in mind. Such efficiency was something Li Jia didn't dare to imagine. He was a simple and kind-hearted person, but he was not stupid. Of course, he could tell that Lin Kun was escorting him along the way. He looked at Lin Kun and solemnly said, "Brother Lin, thank you." Seeing his excitement, Lin Kun waved his hands and said, "It's nothing, I'm just helping myself. This is a battle of civilizations. If we really fight against a group of Bakatans, I will only run away. If you being able to become stronger and cooperate with me also enhances my strength in disguise." Li Jia gained 3 contribution points, and Lin Kun now had 8 contribution points. At this time, Qian Yingying, who was watching from one side, suddenly said, "It seems that a large number of Bakatan troops are coming." Lin Kun changed color slightly. The 3 of them hid nearby, left another exit from the alley, and hid in a 7-story residential building on one side. Soon, they saw the Bakatan regular army. There were more than 50 of them, 2 low-flying airships. They seemed to be passing by on patrol, but when they found the bodies of the Bakatans killed by Lin Kun and his team in the alley, they all stopped and split into 2 teams to search around. The average combat power of the Bakatan regular army was higher than that of its armed personnel. 50 plus 2 warships, Lin Kun was no match for them, so he could only continue to move to the upper floors of the residential building and hide. The 3 of them lay dormant here, waiting for the Bakatan army to leave. The most recent time, a group of Bakatans passed right below the residential building where they were. Even Lin Kun's heart was in his throat. Fortunately, they did not go upstairs. Lin Kun retracted his gaze, exhaled, and turned his head, only to find that Li Jia had something similar to a hand cannon in his hand, which was properly mounted on his hand. It was silver in color and looked like a cool black technology. Lin Kun looked strange and lowered his voice. "Is this the treasure worth 10 contribution points?" Li Jia smiled and put it on his hand. It was just the right size and could be fixed. He said, "Brother, this is an electromagnetic amplifier generator. With this thing, the power of my ability can be doubled directly, and the distance can also be doubled. Moreover, this thing can be used even if my ability is exhausted. There is a built-in battery inside, which can fire 2 arc cannons. The battery is a bit expensive, 1 contribution point per dollar." Lin Kun's eyes lit up when he heard it. This is really a good thing, which can be called black technology. It is also very compatible with Li Jia's ability and is a great help to Li Jia. No wonder Li Jia has been thinking about saving it to exchange for this thing, it is really good. It's just not so useful for Lin Kun. His headshot female skill is far better than the bonus provided by this weapon. It's better to recharge and draw cards or buy energy recovery potions than to buy this weapon or exchange batteries with contribution points. Lin Kun's powerful and unique abilities made these low-value weapons useless to him, which is why he hasn't exchanged too many weapons so far. Instead of exchanging weapons, it is better to spend contribution points on your own skills. But the ability of the contribution point mall is still very powerful. Conventional weapons and black technology equipment, as long as you have enough contribution points, can be exchanged to improve your combat power. They were trapped here, and Li Jia just exchanged this thing for equipment and got familiar with it first. Qian Yingying looked at it with some envy in her eyes. She only had 1 contribution point and couldn't exchange anything. 10 contribution points was an unimaginable astronomical figure for her. Later, Li Jia also tested his new weapon. His ability combined with the hand cannon, the arc range emitted was more than double than before, and the power was greatly enhanced. At a distance of more than 10 meters, it blew up half of a Bakatan's body. Li Jia was excited. Brother Lin, I also have the ability to kill Bakatans instantly. Lin Kun poured cold water on him. You'd better increase your dark energy limit first so that you can fire more shots, or prepare some dark energy recovery potions. I remember there are some in the contribution point mall. 1 contribution point can be exchanged for 1 bottle, which can restore 2 points of dark energy. Li Jia smiled. I understand, I understand. At this time, there was a fierce exchange of fire in front of them. They looked at each other and quietly moved forward to see if they could kill the lone or small group of Bakatans. Lin Kun was the fastest on the move, leaping over the corpses of the Bakatan armed men on the ground that they had just killed, and taking the lead. Before Li Jia and others behind him could see the situation clearly, they saw Lin Kun, who had gone out in front, come back in a hurry. With a nervous expression and a very ugly face, said, "Quickly go, this is not a small force, it is the regular army of Bakatan." Near the survivor base, humans are hunting the Bakatans, and the Bakatans are also hunting humans here. All parties are mixed, and the armies are also intertwined. They are outside. The most important thing to be careful about is this situation. Once they are attacked by the Bakatans, if the Tanzanian army kills them, they will fight to the death. Lin Kun and others usually attack Bakatan armed personnel. Their current strength is not enough to engage in firefights with the Bakatan regular army. The firepower and strength of those regular troops, and those Bakatan armed personnel, there is a huge gap. The most critical thing is the gap between numerical advantage and mobility. At that moment, they quickly retreated and hid nearby. But the Bakatan army seemed to be exchanging fire with the military nearby, with artillery fire. What was even more terrifying was that a terrifying figure rose from the center of the Bakatan army, its aura swelling, as arrogant as a god. As far as it could see, the ground and buildings were cracking apart, flying upside down into the sky, and then crashing down with a loud noise. Smoke and dust billowed, flooding several surrounding streets. The human troops at that position were all wiped out in the blink of an eye. The remaining Barkatan troops dispersed like a torrent, attacking in all directions and sweeping the surrounding streets. It's coming. Seeing it, Lin Kun's pupils instantly turned blood red. He will never forget that Bakatan man in his life. That was Bakan, the commander of Bakatan on the Eastern Front, whose total contribution points exceeded 30,000. He was also the one who killed Jong Bin. Lin Kun's footsteps stopped instinctively. On one side, Li Jia held his arm and said through gritted teeth, "Brother, you can't be impulsive." Voldemort's reason defeated his anger, and the forest group stepped back, the smoke and dust almost reaching their feet. If you run out now, you won't be able to kill it. You can only become one of the countless ants crushed to death by it. Above the smoke and dust, Bakan was slowly flying through the air. This human city was just like its territory. It walked through the air as if there was no one else around, and it stood condescendingly. Every human being it saw was instantly strangled by it. Lin Kun and the others could no longer run away and had to find a place to hide. Lin Kun kicked open the iron gate of a small Western-style building from the last century on one side, and led everyone in to rush and to escape. He was well aware of the gap between him and the monster. After arriving at the survivor base, Just today during the day, Wang Desheng delivered a piece of news to Lin Qun, which was detailed information about Bakan that he had obtained from the military. Bakan is a bloodline of the Bakan royal family and a natural telekinesis master. He once participated in a civilized war and survived. He is an extremely powerful warrior and telekinesis master of the Bakan civilization. Its level is said to be around 40 level or above. For the current Lin Qun, that is a chasm like a chasm. If they meet head-on, all three of them will die. Of course, even as powerful an individual as it is impossible to attack the survivor base alone and will be killed by the military's intensive firepower. However, in the area outside the survivor base, no human being can compete with it. But on external battlefields and small-scale local battlefields, it is a god that can go wherever it goes. Human beings have no choice but to flee. There is no way, the humans in Magic City are shrinking. Fortunately, it didn't seem to notice Lin Qun, floating slowly in the sky 2 streets away from the building where they were hiding. Lin Qun opened a corner of the curtain and didn't even dare to look at it, for fear that it would notice his gaze. According to the available information, Bakan telekinesis masters have extremely keen perceptions. The more powerful they are, the sharper their perceptions are. But Li Jia, who was checking the situation in the building, suddenly whispered, "Brother, there is someone upstairs." At this time, they were on the 2nd floor, and there were actually a group of survivors hiding on the 3rd floor, 8 of them, all in a miserable state. Seeing Lin Qun and the others coming up, these people all cast wary glances. Lin Qun took a quick glance and sat down on the other side of the same floor as Li Jia and others, not only wary of these similar people, but also waiting for the Bakan army to leave completely. Lin Qun was also observing them. This seems to be a group of survivors who are going to the survivor base. They are all in a mess and have nothing on them. They are roughly divided into several waves, one with 2 brothers, one with a family of 3, and 2 bodyguards. The man seemed to be protecting a handsome young man who looked very bookish. After staring at the young man for a while, Lin Qun didn't see anything, but Qian Yingying suddenly said, "That person seems to be a little star. I seem to have seen it on TV. His name is, what is his name?" The room was quiet. No matter how low the voice was, you could still hear it, and the other person obviously glanced this way. Qian Yingying remained silent, and she didn't want to cause trouble. Lin Qun didn't know any celebrities, and he wasn't surprised to meet any celebrities in a prosperous place like the Magic City. But now, with the end of the world coming and the beginning of civilized war, it was meaningless to be famous or not. Lin Qun only came to the window and silently observed the situation below. As soon as the Bakan army left, they left here immediately. At the same time, he also uses the concentration technique to speed up the recovery of energy and maintain optimal combat power. But there was a faint commotion among the survivors over there. The person who looked like a little star took out a bag of breakfast biscuits. The survivors on their side swallowed hard, and a girl asked timidly, "Can you give me one? I haven't eaten for more than a day." They were not Lin Qun, they were all survivors who had fled in a panic. It was not easy for them to survive here. They had no food on them and had been hungry for a long time. Lin Qun cast a glance. The little star just shook his head, without any intention of sharing. There was only half a bag of breakfast biscuits left. He took out 4 pieces from it, 2 for himself and 1 for each of his bodyguards. The others watched eagerly, but they could only watch. Even if they had any ideas, they could only stay away from the 2 bodyguards. He also glanced at Lin Qun, with a vigilant look in his eyes, obviously thinking that Lin Qun and the others were also ordinary survivors, and worried that they would miss his biscuits. Because Lin Qun and the others were carrying guns. Lin Qun was not so boring. They had strength and no shortage of supplies. They came out to hunt the Bakatans and carried supplies with them. In order to prevent this guy from thinking that they would steal their things and cause unnecessary trouble, Lin Qun thought about it and simply took out 3 sausages from Li Jia's backpack. The young star's eyes suddenly widened. 3 ham sausages were revealed, and the sound of swallowing was immediately heard in the quiet room. The survivors watched helplessly, their mouths watering. But they didn't dare to do anything, because Lin Qun and the others put their guns on the ground out of vigilance. These survivors were all in a mess. They had not awakened any good talents, and they had no weapons. Except for the two little stars around them, they didn't dare to do anything. The bodyguard had 2 guns in his hand, and the others were not qualified to challenge Lin Kun and the others. The little star and his 2 bodyguards also fell silent watching the scene here. I just felt that the dry breakfast biscuits in my hand suddenly lost their aroma. The Barkadans were still lingering nearby. This group of Barkadans seemed to be carrying heat-sensing equipment, but the gunfire was concentrated on a street away. They are attracted by the survivors in that direction and are gathering there. Therefore, Lin Kun and the others were relatively safe here, so they simply took this opportunity to eat, replenish their physical energy, and recover their consumed energy and dark energy. Li Jia took out bread and water again, and everyone ate happily. While Lin Kun was eating, he spread out the detailed map of Magic City that he bought with a piece of biscuit at the survivor base to determine the next route of travel. It is necessary to stagger the main force of Bakan and the military as much as possible, otherwise, not only may the Hun not be able to contribute points, but oneself will be handed over. He is already at the 7th level, and ordinary Bakan armed personnel are no match for him, but at this stage, Lin Kun is still unable to fight against the human sea tactics and the torrent of steel. In the regional rankings, Lin Kun has rushed back to the 3rd position. In front of him, Sha Qing actually fell down and reached 6th place. The first one was still Chi Zichuan, and the second one turned into another military soldier. It was said that Sha Qing was cooperating with the experts at the survivor base on scientific research, which caused her rate of obtaining contribution points to plummet. If he can hold on to 3rd place, he can get another 10 contribution points for nothing, which is equivalent to a chance to draw a card. Lin Kun was thinking when footsteps approached. He raised his head warily and saw the little star walking over with 2 people. Lin Kun instantly narrowed his eyes and put down the food and map in his hands. Li Jia and Qian Yingying also touched their weapons. The little star waved his hands repeatedly. Don't be nervous, I don't mean any harm, I just want to ask, can I have one of your ham sausages? I didn't ask for it in vain. Looking at you like this, are you going to the 6th prison? We are 2, and I know someone in the 6th prison who is a big shot in the survivor base. When we get there, I can give you a box of ham. Li Jia was surprised when he heard these words. A box of ham sausage, in a survivor base that is now overcrowded and in short supply of supplies, can be replaced by a girl to accompany you for a whole year. And all postures and gameplay can be unlocked. What a big tone. Do you know what a box of ham sausage means now? The little star said, I am Wang Han. You may not know me, but I am a well-known public figure. There is no need for me to lie to you. Qian Yingying looked surprised when she heard the name. Apparently, she was finally reminded of who this little star was. Lin Kun believed what Wang Han said. He could tell that this little star had no fighting ability and relied solely on his 2 bodyguards. It's the end of the world, and it must be beneficial for the 2 bodyguards to still be willing to follow him. This pie is not fake. Lin Kun smiled and shook his head, saying, that's not necessary. He just wants to quietly hunt the Bakatans, and has no intention of getting involved with any big shots. Moreover, with his exaggerated regional ranking results, he wants to have no relationship with him. As long as this is exposed, a big shot will come in person right away. Find him. Wang Han was stunned for a moment, a little disappointed, but didn't say anything. However, his 2 bodyguards were a little unhappy. One of them said, you were lucky enough to pick up these supplies in a supermarket on the way, right? When you get to the survivor base, how many days will you have enough supplies? I don't know anyone, you guys. It won't be much better to survive there. Of course, you may have some strength, but I am AD level talent awakener. You can use ham sausage in exchange for my protecting you. The bodyguard was also a little moved and wanted to eat ham. But unfortunately, Lin Kun just shook his head. Lin Kun didn't lack supplies, let alone force. He didn't want to interact with unnecessary people, waste time, and possibly cause unnecessary trouble. Li Jia and Qian Yingying also pressed their weapons and said nothing. What Lin Kun meant was what they meant. Although Qian Yingying recognized Wang Han, she was not a fan of him. She knew where she was now, so she would not say anything more. In the end, Wang Han pulled his bodyguard, shook his head, and sat back on the other side. Wang Han was rejected, and the other ordinary survivors had nothing to say. They could only watch helplessly, envious of Lin Kun and their rich food. Wang Han was also sitting in the corner, silently eating dry biscuits. Li Jia only sighed in a low voice. Times have really changed, stars have become so miserable, and their privileges have collapsed. Lin Kunchi glanced at him sideways and said, "It's so miserable. People have connections when they go to the survivor base. Do you have any?" Li Jia chuckled. "Brother, I rely on you." "You guy," Lin Kun said angrily, "who said you would protect me before?" Lin Kun moved his eyes and found that Wang Han was still looking at this side. When their eyes met, Wang Han did not feel much dissatisfaction. He did not share the supplies with other survivors, and he seemed to understand why Lin Kun did not give him the supplies. It was just that his understanding might be different from what Lin Kun actually thought. He even smiled at Lin Kun and looked away. Time passed slowly. Lin Kun had determined the route, but he could not take the next step for the time being. He thought about it and simply spent the 10 contribution points he had just obtained to draw a card. The card slowly emerged. Lin Kun took a look at it first and was stunned for a moment. He took another look and his eyes lit up. He was stunned because this card was actually a one-time experience card, but he lit up because the effect of this card was extremely powerful. Name: Time Belt. Type: Item card grade, C level. Effect: this is a slender belt with superior texture. It contains a mysterious micro-time-space device, which allows the user to go back 20 seconds. Cooling: 72 hours or deduct a point of energy limit. Do you want to materialize? C-level item. Go back in time. Lin Kun almost stood up from his position. 20 seconds can be called a miracle in a life and death battle, and can even reverse life and death and victory and defeat. This is a 4-dimensional equipment. However, it also has a cooling time, which is about 3 days before it can be used once. If you want to use it frequently, you need to deduct the upper limit of energy. That's the upper limit. Lin Kun realized that perhaps because of this thing is a C-level item. However, with such an amazing effect, once every 3 days is also enough. Lin Kun quietly materialized. This belt is indeed a bit slender, and it even looks like it is used by women. But after thinking for a long time, he didn't think of which fantasy world this time belt came from, so he just carefully kept it. This is an important trump card, and even like the resurrection of the dead, it can be of great use at critical moments. At this time, outside, the Bakan army finally left after wandering for a while. They were attracted by the battlefield in another direction and rushed to that direction to join the battle. Lin Kun looked out the window, and Bakan also flew over there, and soon became an invisible dot in the field of vision. Night is the time when humans and Bakans exchange the most intense fire. It is often quieter during the day. Although the 13 survivor bases have absorbed millions of survivors, the population of the Magic City is too large. Now there are still a large number of survivors scattered in various urban areas, hiding everywhere, or trying to get closer to the survivor base. Lin Kun and others were not in a hurry to leave. Since they had rested, they would rest and set off again, waiting for their energy to rise, so as not to have to keep exchanging blue bottles. Wang Han and others were not in a hurry to leave, but the family of 3 went downstairs first. Obviously they couldn't sit still. This place is not far from the survivor base of the 6th prison. They, ordinary survivors, naturally want to hurry and arrive as soon as possible. But not long after they went downstairs, they ran back again, panicked and terrified. Monster! There is a monster! Seeing this scene, Lin Kun's first reaction was, are the Bakans coming back? But then he realized something was wrong. The Bakans had just left, how could they fight back with their carbines? And, if they were really Bakans, what kind of monster did they call them? Lin Kun noticed that this family of 3 went down, but now when they came up, only the mother was holding the child, covered in blood, and their father was gone. Their screams were so shrill that everyone in the room stood up. Li Jia took a step forward and stood side by side with Lin Kun. They came up from behind and were closest to the stairs. The mother was so panicked that she came up while running. She lost her footing and fell in front of Lin Kun and the others. At this time, an inhuman howl came from behind the mother. That's really not a Bakan. Lin Kun had never seen anything like that before. It was like a dark shadow with no obvious outline of organs. Its body was twisting and turning, but it could walk on the stairs. Every time it took a step forward, it would extend from its twisting body. Something like a foot came out, stepped on the ground, disappeared quickly, and then popped up again. Its speed was extremely fast, and from the depths of the shadow, there was a howling sound like a beast. Qian Yingying fired the gun immediately, and the bullet hit it into the dark substance. It just paused back under the influence of the force, but it didn't seem to be injured at all. Instead, it accelerated even faster and moved forward at a high speed. Rushing over, they were in front of Lin Qun and Li Jia almost instantly. The dark material mass suddenly opened, forming a huge mouth like a mouth, with scarlet flesh and blood inside, and dense teeth each more than 10 centimeters long. This mouth alone can swallow half of it, adults. Its first target was the mother and child who fell on the ground. A series of exclamations sounded in the room. What is this? Lin Qun was also a little frightened. He had never seen this thing before, so he didn't dare to be careless. He moved his eyes and directly blasted the position above its mouth. According to Blue Star's common sense, the head should be above the mouth. There was a loud bang. Lin Qun succeeded. Its physique is less than 42. But it was not dead. Lin Qun looked down, and half of the monster's body and half of its mouth exploded. Black matter peeled off from its body, and things like clouds or particles spattered the back half of the wall. But it wasn't dead, it was even alive. Its dark body twisted, and in the blink of an eye it formed a bloody mouth that could swallow half a person. It kicked off the ground suddenly and rushed directly towards Lin Qun and the others. Lin Qun changed color. Wrong location. Where should it be bombed? This guy has no obvious or important organs in the human sense. Now was not the time to think. He moved his eyes and opened another hole in the monster's body, but still failed to kill it. Its body was knocked to the ground and it jumped up again howling. Brother, be careful. Li Jia's expression changed, and he pulled Lin Qun violently, trying to block Lin Qun's front with his body. This is his instinct. Qian Yingying screamed in fright. But Lin Qun's reaction was much faster than Li Jia's. His attributes completely crushed Li Jia's. Therefore, Li Jia failed to pull him, but Lin Qun pulled him all the way out and got out of the way of the attacks. At this time, Wang Han and his 2 bodyguards all stood up, and the 2 bodyguards took action. The D-class bodyguard's ability was somewhat interesting. It seemed to be an ability similar to the lion's roar. When he opened his mouth and shouted, it formed a wave of air, blowing everything around him everywhere, and even the cabinet fell to the ground. But his move was useless against that weird monster. It didn't move at all in the strong wind, broke through the strong wind, and directly rode on its face to output. The bodyguard was immediately dumbfounded. He reacted quickly enough, but his form was wrong. He ran away immediately and didn't care about Wang Han. When Wang Han saw this, he turned around and ran away. On this level, a group of survivors instantly exploded into a pot of porridge. The black shadow monster seemed to be unkillable, running around and mouthing blood. An unlucky survivor was bitten until only half of his body was left. What the hell is this? Li Jia roared angrily, stood up, and was about to try the hand cannon, but the monster moved too fast, and he couldn't aim at it. Moreover, the monster seemed to notice, turned its head, and rushed towards Li Jia again. Li Jia's expression changed, but at this moment, he only felt a slight heat on the right side of his body. The next second, the entire floor was lit up. A terrifying fireball formed behind Li Jia, flew out close to his body, and hit the monster directly in the face. The dark monster instantly turned into a ball of fire, howling crazily, and all the dark matter in its body evaporated like smoke, and was killed by the fireball alive. Li Jia swallowed hard and turned his head in slow motion, looking at Lin Qun behind him with an expression like he was looking at a monster. Brother, where did you get the fireball? At this time, everyone's eyes were focused on Lin Qun. They all seemed to be looking at some extraordinary guy. Lin Qun, on the other hand, was actually a little confused. He didn't expect this fire talisman to be so exaggerated and powerful. The so-called fire attack is just a big fireball as tall as a person. Not to mention such a monster, even an ordinary Bakan airship could be blown up. This is actually the first time Lin Qun has used a fire talisman. After all, there are only 3 in total, so it's best not to use them if you can't use them. It's just that you don't know that this power will shock you when you use it. Lin Kuan suppressed his surprise and glanced at the embers on the ground. The monster had been completely wiped out. He gains 1 contribution point and 100 experience points. This is also an alien civilization creature. However, it seems that they are not Bakan people. They have never seen such a monster. Then, he glanced at everyone in the room, remained silent for a moment, then turned and left. Li Jia and Qian Yingying looked at each other and followed them downstairs. Li Jia was still amazed. Brother Niucha, you are such a big fireball. What is that monster? Why have I never seen it before? Is it the secret weapon of the Bakan people? In response, Lin Kuan just shook his head. He felt that this thing was definitely not a creature of the Bakan series. He instinctively thought of the day when the countdown ended, when he caught a glimpse of the vortex and giant shadow that overwhelmed the entire demon city. Although it had no chance to enter the demon city due to the blockade of the Bakans, at that time, it seemed that something still fell in from the vortex. The situation in the magic city is getting more and more complicated. Lin Kuan said, we have to be more careful. Also, my level is higher than yours, and my attributes are higher than yours. What are you doing in front of me? You don't want to go home to see you parents. I thought about it, of course I thought about it. But that monster pounced on you, so I didn't think much about it. Li Jia touched his head and said with a smile, isn't it my intention to protect you, brother? Lin Kuan paused and looked at this guy's naive look. His reaction at that moment was Li Jia's instinct. He wanted to protect himself, even forgetting that he might also be bitten off half of his body by the monster. Lin Kuan sighed. Of course, I will take you out of the magic city and take you back to Anshan. If your parents are still alive, I will help you find them. It's a deal, brother. Behind him, Li Jia looked at Lin Kuan's back with a somewhat complicated look. During this period of time, he had been following Lin Kuan, and he could naturally notice that Lin Kuan seemed to have more than one ability. He was very surprised and confused, wondering how Lin Kuan did it. But Li Jia didn't ask in the end. He respected Lin Kuan. If Lin Kuan didn't want to talk, he wouldn't ask. As for others like Qian Yingying, their relationship was not as good as that between Lin Kuan and Li Jia, so it was impossible for them to ask any more questions. Even if they had doubts, they remained silent and buried deep in their hearts. The 3 of them quickly left here, but in the building, the remaining survivors, especially Wang Han and the D-class bodyguard, were still in a state of confusion and looking at each other, greatly shocked by the scene that had just happened. After a long while, the D-class bodyguard murmured, he was killed by a fireball. That guy is a big boss. I said I wanted to protect others, wasn't I a big joke? I'm afraid we thought wrong. They are not the survivors who went to the survivor base like us. I'm afraid they are the real strong men who came out from the survivor base to hunt the Bakans. It's not that they don't believe that I can return them a box of ham. Intestinal, but don't care about the conditions I prescribe. Wang Han looked thoughtful. No, that's not right. The fireball was making too much noise just now. The Bakans might hear the news and come over. We have to leave quickly. In the small Western-style building, the survivors left one after another. The mother picked up her child, her expression was dazed for a while, and she became strong, and finally went downstairs slowly. She lost her husband, but she still had to work hard to survive for her child. Wang Han stood downstairs and turned his head to take a last look. There was some expectation in his eyes. He knew that he and the unknown strong man would definitely meet again, in the survivor base of the 6th prison. At the same time, Lin Kuan and his team had slipped forward and moved to the next location. Lin Kuan had never been so familiar with the terrain of the suburban line of the eastern part of the Magic City. Now he has memorized it by heart. Here, they encountered a small group of Bakans again, and quickly strangled them. Lin Kuan's ranking was stable in the 3rd place. At the same time, he also carefully put away the other 2 fire talismans. This thing is powerful and should be used in the right place. Today is just the beginning. Next, he will hunt the Bakans with all his strength. With books, it is long, without books, it is short. June 21, 1751. Magic City, East less than City District. The battle between humans and Bakan civilization in Magic City is entering a new stalemate stage. The main forces of both sides no longer collide. The battlefield spreads from the central city district to the other 4 city districts in Magic City. Small-scale conflicts break out everywhere, and Bakatans and humans continue to exchange fierce fire in the city. In the past few days, Lin Qun hid during the day and went out at night. He and Li Jia and Li Xinghe kept going back and forth between the survivor base and the East less than city district, making moves everywhere, turning into Old Yin 13, and hunting Bakatans everywhere with the cover of frequent small-scale conflicts between the Federal Army and the Bakatans. Lin Qun's contribution points began to rise rapidly. In this process, he consumed another concentration pill, and there were 2 concentration pills left in his hand. Not only that, Lin Qun's concentration technique has been achieved, and it has almost become passive. It is always in the activation state, and it can also continuously restore energy in battle. Accumulating little by little, this directly saves Lin Qun a lot of contribution points. Li Jia, Li Xinghe and others did not have the energy of Lin Qun. Lin Qun could kill 3 times a day, but they could not. They had to take turns in groups of 2 to keep up with Lin Qun's pace. But they also gained benefits. Although most of the Bakatans were killed by Lin Qun, they could still gain something. Not only that, they followed Lin Qun, and the safety factor was extremely high. They had no danger along the way. Even Zhao Wen got 2 contribution points from nothing. And 1 survivor base after another sprang up in this process. The Federal Magic City Army established survivor bases in all 4 major urban areas of the East, West, South and North. On June 20th, the number of existing survivor bases in the Magic City had reached 13, and more than 3 million people were accommodated. There were 3 survivor bases in the East less than city district alone. The Magic City 6th Prison Survivor Base, that is, the Magic City 3rd Survivor Base. The Magic City Military Hospital Survivor Base, that is, the Magic City 5th Survivor Base. The Magic City Xinxing Square Survivor Base, that is, the Magic City 9th Survivor Base. These 3 survivor bases echoed each other from a distance, forming a pincer attack. Survivor bases dotted the messy battlefield of the Magic City like stars. The human military used these 13 survivor bases as a front to fight against the Bakatans. They fought to the death and fought back and forth. The Bakatans spent a lot of money to block the Magic City. At this moment, only these 2 civilizations were playing games here. It was a life and death battle. The Bakatans had been constantly deploying troops. They had established a base camp in the central city. A steady stream of Bakatans passed through the space cracks, gathered in the central city, and continued to be invested in the battlefields of various regions. Everyone knew that before the 30-day blockade period arrived, the Bakatans would kill all the humans in the Magic City at all costs and turn the 20 million humans in the Magic City into their contribution points. Only in this way could they justify the 5 million contribution points they spent. Of course, these were all top-level changes, and Lin Qun was not aware of them now. He didn't have time to understand too much. In the past few days, he was doing his best to improve himself. Accumulate enough contribution points and strive for a higher ranking. In more than 3 days, Lin Qun ranked 3rd, 5th, and 4th, and remained in the top 5. His IDing became the subject of discussion among many people in the survivor base. Because more strong people emerged in these days, the rankings of the Magic City ranking and the regional ranking have been changing. For example, Lu Rui has fallen from the 5th to the 9th place at the beginning, and Sha Qing has completely fallen from the 2nd place due to cooperating with the military action, and is also hovering between the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Qi Zichuan has been stable, but there is news that he is wandering on the edge of Zhongcheng District and Dongcheng District and may leave the Dongcheng District at any time. In this regard, Lin Qun said that he has been waiting. Because Qi Zichuan left, he can move up 1 place in order and get a lot of settlement contribution points out of thin air. But unfortunately, at least Qi Zichuan has been there for more than 3 days. In addition to him, there is another mysterious guy, whose ID is, "Give me back my work," who has emerged as a dark horse and is stable in the 2nd place, which is very powerful. The top 10 are constantly changing, and the latter are even more so. As time goes by, many people try to go out to fight against the Bokatans, or go out to search for supplies. There are too many people in the survivor base, and the supplies distributed by the military every day can only ensure that people will not starve to death. If you want to eat enough and live well, you have to go to the city to take risks and find ways. Some people died in the process, but some people grew up, like Lin Kuan, who had to go out every day and live in a new attitude under the Doomsday. This led to the emergence of many people, and the rankings changed in real time. In this case, it is still surprising that Lin Kuan, the Night Shadow, has been stable in the top 5. People are forced to survive, and there is no entertainment in the survivor base, so this ranking has become the topic of conversation and the focus of discussion. Lin Kuan is the focus, but in Lin Kuan's eyes, there is also a focus in his eyes. The global battlefield has been completely opened, and the global ranking has appeared. The Bokatans can't even enter the top 10 of the global ranking, and humans are even more so. But on the 19th, a human warrior with the ID, I am human, broke into the top 100 and ranked 100th in the world with 26,000 contribution points. This caused an uproar in the blocked Magic City. Lin Kuan was also shocked. More than 26,000 contribution points, which means that the opponent killed more than 20,000 aliens in more than 6 days. This is a real strong man. Among the names of aliens, the ID, I am human, makes people feel indescribable. There is hope, sadness, excitement and pride. Humans also have strong people, and can kill aliens like slaughtering dogs. Lin Kuan also yearns for it deeply. When can he have 20,000 contribution points? And what he can hardly imagine is, what is the situation outside the Magic City? From those rolling global rankings, the outside world seems to have been dark and bloody like hell. After 30 days, if he can survive and leave the Magic City, what will he face? Lin Kuan didn't know, and now no one could answer his question. The same doubts and uneasiness were buried deep in everyone's heart, and in the end they could only suppress it temporarily and give priority to the present. These days, Lin Kuan did the same. He hunted non-stop, killed many Bokatans, and finally reached level 8, and also accumulated a lot of experience to reach level 9. The panel attributes have been comprehensively improved again. Name, Lin Kuan. Level, 8 5,307 Strength, 15. Agility, 15. Physique, 21. Energy, 26. Tip. All the above data have a standard value of 10 for ordinary people. Talent. Card drawing bonus ability. The current number of card draws remaining, 0. Current remaining contribution points, 107. After many days of hard work, the total number of contribution points exceeded 100, and Lin Kuan was ready to upgrade the headshot female ability. Of course, instead of leveling up outside, he returned to the survivor base. At this time, the time came to 0:06, and today's rankings have been settled. Yesterday's ranking has been locked. Congratulations, Yang, you were ranked 3rd in the regional ranking Modu East and LT, Cheng District War Zone. Reward 10 civilization contribution points. With 10 contribution points recorded, Lin Kuan's total contribution points reached an unprecedented 117 points. With the blessing of the concentration technique, Lin Kuan saved countless blue bottles. The net contribution points from hunting the Bokatans were far higher than before, and the acquisition speed was getting faster and faster. Lin Kuan's cell was located in the back, which was quite peaceful. When they returned to the cell, Li Xinghe and Zhao Wen were guarding here. There have been too many people recently, and those left behind don't dare to run around. Afraid of being taken advantage of. Li Xinghe stood up and said, "Boss, Fan Wenchuan's subordinate Lu Wei came here today." Lu Wei. Lin Kuan was a little confused by this name. That's the skinny one. Only then did Lin Kuan realize that this was the name of the skinny man. He frowned. What is he here for? It should be to win me over. Now Fan Wenchuan and Ni Wenshang are together, and they are prospering, and there is no shortage of supplies and manpower. But in the end, he is relying on Ni Wenshang. He thinks I am a master and wants to pull me over. I can further get rid of Ni Wenshang's control, but I didn't agree. Li Xinghe said, I think he wants to be a Doomsday merchant in the survivor base. Li Jia said, although I don't like Fan Wenzuan very much, I have to say that he is still very powerful. Li Xinghe, you were like scolding him in front of him before, but he is still willing to visit the thatched cottage. Li Xinghe touched his nose. How can I have it? Qian Yingying said softly. It's not unreasonable that he can thrive wherever he goes. This man is very smart, and he thinks that you are a master, Li Xinghe. He will not break up with you until it is absolutely necessary. Quote. Lin Qun also felt a little emotional. No matter whether he was a good guy or a bad guy, Fan Wenquan did have a brain. He was worthy of being a leader outside before the end. Those who were capable could find a way to survive anywhere. These days, Fan Wenquan has gathered a lot of people in the survivor base and is running a good business. Although he has no strength, he has successfully found another way to survive. Li Jia said. This Fan Wenquan's doomsday management has been figured out by him. Fan Wenquan's path was different from theirs. Lin Qun and the others improved their own strength, while Fan Wenquan relied on connections. But in Kong Lin Qun's view, even if Fan Wenquan becomes a doomsday merchant, he will still have to rely on the survivor base to exist. If the survivor base is destroyed, no matter how hard he works, it will be in vain, and this is also his have no choice. If there is enough time, even if the survivor base is destroyed, it is possible to survive. After returning to the survivors' base and feeling completely safe, Lin Qun went to the corner of the room and spent donation points to upgrade his headshot skills. As before, the upgrade process was uneventful, and Lin Qun, the person involved, didn't feel much at all. But his skill description has changed dramatically. Skill, bang, skill level. Level 2 within a radius of 50 meters centered on itself, with eyes fixed on the target, you can use this skill to destroy any part of the carbon-based living body at a fixed point. This skill has reached level 2, with a derivative function. It can carry out fixed-point blasting on objects with a volume of 8 cubic centimeters. The current maximum physical limit of the target that can be directly blasted is 46. When using this skill on enemies whose physical constitution exceeds this value, the effect will be reduced. Note: this skill will provide you with 2 points of physical bonus and 2 points of energy bonus. Success. Lin Qun's panel attributes also changed instantly. This time, the physical bonus of the headshot girl skill has been increased from 1 to 2, and there is also an additional 2 points of energy bonus. Lin Qun's physical fitness has reached 23 points, and his energy level is an astonishing 28 points. He can headshot any target with a physique of 46 or below at will. With 28 points of energy, he could blow his head 14 times if he didn't want to die. What concerned Lin Qun the most was the increase in attack distance. Directly increased by 40 meters. From the original 10 meters, it has reached 50. This is the most critical and strongest improvement of this skill. There is a huge gap between 50 meters and 10 meters. This means that Lin Qun can use Lao Yin 13's talent at a safer distance to achieve sniping. And from the looks of it, this is not the limit. This skill still has room for improvement and the possibility of upgrading. Lin Qun noticed that the next upgrade would require 200 contribution points. The next upgrade will definitely increase the headshot distance. And the improvement must be far beyond 40 meters. If this continues, if he can achieve a 1000-meter sniper kill, then he has really found a commanding height and can headshot the Bacatans at will. He will be in an invincible position, and the enemy will not even be able to find his position. That would be true concealment. As long as the distance is far enough, the only shortcoming of his skill will be filled. Moreover, Lin Qun even noticed that this upgrade has a secondary effect. Objects with a volume of 8 cubic centimeters can be exploded. This means that starting from the second level, this ability is no longer limited to carbon-based organisms. He also deliberately tried it, found a small brick, and released his skills in a place where no one was around. With just 2 points of energy, he blew up that brick in an instant. This power is more powerful than conventional bullets. Sure enough, if you continue to upgrade, the headshot female skill will not only be limited to blasting the bodies of carbon-based creatures, but can also destroy anything. With further upgrades, the size of items that can be exploded at will should increase. A distance of 50 meters will greatly enhance the survivability and combat effectiveness of the forest group. And this new blasting application can make his abilities more abundant. Lin Qun's eyes moved. There are still 17 contribution points. He is gearing up, activating skills and drawing cards. 10 contribution points are deducted. Lin Kuan was sitting in the corner, his lips moving, and he was mumbling curses. Good cards must come out, top cards must come out, the European Emperor is possessed, the European Emperor is possessed, the non-chiefs retreat, the non-chiefs retreat. His voice was so low that no one else heard him. Soon, the card appeared. Lin Kuan looked over in surprise. Name: raw beef 1000 grams. Type: material card. Description: using this item card, you can get 1000 grams of raw beef. The fresh kind. But it needs to be cooked before it can be eaten. Is it present? This is brand new card types. Supplies card. Is it supplies? 2 kilograms of raw beef, in the survivor base, is a good thing with a price but no market. Among the survivors here, few have eaten meat after the apocalypse broke out. No one can live anymore. Who can? Can you take care of those livestock? I'm afraid even the top brass of the survivor base don't have fresh beef. Taking out these 2 kilograms of beef is enough to drive everyone in the survivor base crazy. No, you have to be careful when eating this food. Although Lin Kuan is not afraid if hungry survivors snatch it, he is not bored enough to ask for trouble. Maybe he can find a place where no one is around to have a pot of beef stew. It's too late today. Lin Kuan and the others have also eaten. They will definitely not be able to survive today. Lin Kuan looked at the beef in the card screen and moved his index finger. Who can not be hungry for biscuits and porridge every day? Looking at the beef painted above, Lin Kuan instinctively began to think of cumin beef, braised beef, stewed beef. There are actually supplies drawn out of the cards. In this case, even in places where there is no food, you can still rely on the cards to survive. However, Lin Kuan did not show it now. Instead, he took the card in his hand and put it in his storage bag. After all, he didn't have anything to store fresh raw beef, and now that it was manifested, it would inevitably go bad. It's not too late to redeem it when you're ready to eat. Beef can be extracted, and perhaps more other materials can be extracted, such as fruits and vegetables that are also in short supply at the end of the world. If he has a supply card, he can sustain himself even if he is trapped on one side. The next day, 6 o'clock in the morning, Lin Kuan suddenly opened his eyes. Although he only slept less than 4 hours before and after, his eyes were like light bulbs and he was full of energy. This is the terrible bonus brought by 28 points of energy. Unlimited energy. After a short rest, you will be full of energy. On the other hand, Li Jia and Qian Yingying had been running around with Lin Kuan all night yesterday. They had been tense and were still fighting to the death with Bakan. They were exhausted physically and mentally, so sleepy that they couldn't wake up at all. Lin Kuan was in high spirits. His super high energy was not something to be underestimated. Once he was fully recovered, his eyes would light up like light bulbs. Moreover, with the blessing of concentration technique, Lin Kuan's energy recovery speed was directly improved by a level, greatly saving rest time. In addition, his energy limit is high. When his energy is full, sleeping for an hour a day is completely enough. Lin Kuan stood up, packed up, and was ready to set off. Normally, Li Jia and Qian Yingying went out last night, and Li Xinghe, Zhao Wen and Lin Kuan should be acting together during the day today. But Lin Kuan got up too early today. Li Xinghe couldn't get up, and Zhao Wen was also drowsy. Hearing that Lin Kuan was about to go out, her slender arms hugged Lin Kuan's thigh, and while exploring, she said half asleep, "I'm full of energy, why don't you carry me out?" Seeing that his bare hands were about to touch a dangerous place, Lin Kuan calmly pulled out his thigh and went out by himself. At 6 o'clock, most of the survivors in the survivor base were asleep. At this time, it was quieter than at night. When Lin Kuan came out, he met Lao Wu at the door. He came to see Lin Kuan. "Brother, you want to go out?" In the past few days, Lao Wu and Lin Kuan have been moving around a lot. Lao Wu is an old man at the survivor base. As a volunteer, he knows a lot of people and can bring Lin Kuan some conveniences and information that can be obtained at no cost. Lin Kuan is also happy to get along with him. The relationship between both parties is very good. Lao Wu also knew that Lin Kuan and his team seemed to be very cruel. They went out to hunt the Bacatans and search for supplies every day, but he was also very smart and never asked about Lin Kuan and his team's secrets. Lin Kuan said, "Well, what's wrong? I guess that you might want to go out. I came here to remind you." Lao Wu smiled and said, "Be careful these 2 days. It is said that the Bakan people are going to make a big move. I am talking about us. The Bakatans of the East City." Lin Kuan narrowed his eyes. What big move? He took out 2 ham sausages from his arms and stuffed them into Lao Wu. Lao Wu quickly retreated, glanced around furtively, then came closer and said, "It is said that they are mobilizing troops and concentrating resources to attack a survivor base." Hearing this sentence, Lin Kuan was shocked. Where are they going to attack? He suddenly thought of yesterday, when they had encountered a group of Bakatan people, who seemed to have received some information and suddenly ran away. At that time, if Lin Kuan hadn't taken action yet, he would have almost thought it was his overlord. The energy scared them away. Humanity now adopts a policy of sticking to it and trying to avoid damage as much as possible, but the Bakatans are different. They only have 30 days, and it is definitely impossible to leave these 13 survivor bases alone. And for them, the sooner they defeat humans and capture the survivor base, the better it is for them. Therefore, it is not surprising that the Barkatans launched a non-stop attack on the survivor base. Lao Wu didn't answer, smiled and shook his head. "I don't know about that, but looking at the situation now, we shouldn't be unlucky." Lin Kuan glanced at him and took out a handful of toffee from his arms. This time Lao Wu took it away, and he said, "I really don't know. I just want to remind you, brother, just be careful and don't get involved in the Bakatan army. However, I am telling you this today, don't tell anyone else." After saying that, he glanced around and left directly. Lin Kuan watched his back disappear into the crowd, exhaled, and stepped forward. Lao Wu is a pretty good person. He is never vague about receiving gifts, but he is always reliable in what he should do, and he never takes more than he should. Lin Kuan came out of the survivor base, and it was still dark. He took the survivor base as the center and wandered within a radius of 3 kilometers. This was the safe distance he had found out these days. Generally, at this location, there are fewer regular Bakatan troops, and all the Bakatan armed personnel are active. Their numbers are uncertain, their strength is different, and their fighting qualities are also uneven. They are the best targets. Lin Kuan was more cautious when he came out alone, not only to obtain more contribution points, but also to test his upgraded headshot ability. He hid on the 2nd floor of a roadside residential building, quietly poked his head out, and locked his eyes on several Bakatan armed men coming out from the opposite side. They came out of the alley on the opposite street and quickly came to the center of the street. They moved quickly with the help of the chaotic and crowded abandoned vehicles on the street, and seemed to be looking for human prey. According to his previous abilities, it was impossible for Lin Kuan to activate his skills at this distance. He had to get closer, or even enter the street himself. That way, he would be very close to these Bakatan armed men, and while taking a headshot, he would be at risk of exposing himself at any time. And this moment, Lin Kuan lay on the roof and blinked once. A Barkatan advancing cautiously down the street fell to the ground. Then came the second and third. They panicked, and at first they looked for targets everywhere, but they had no idea where the attack was coming from. Then they just desperately looked for cover, thinking that the enemy was on the same plane as them, but these efforts could not end the massacre. Finally, they went crazy. There was a burly Bakatan with a distorted face, who seemed to think that the enemy was behind the underground window of a store in front. He rushed out with a rocket launcher and wanted to shoot there. But seeing this scene, Lin Kuan's heart moved, and he stared at the muzzle of the rocket launcher. At the moment when the rocket rushed out of the chamber, he activated his ability, exploded objects below 8 cubic centimeters. He couldn't explode the rocket directly, but it was enough to explode wherever he saw it. With a bang, Lin Kuan stared at the rocket and exploded the burly Bakatan, who was directly blown to death by himself. The last Bakatan watched his companions die one after another. No matter how they hid, the god of death would quickly visit, revealing an infinite panic expression. It had never seen such a situation. Almost all of them were dead, but they didn't even see the enemy. It had no choice but to run out of the corner screaming, firing wildly around desperately, and finally with a bang, its head exploded and fell to the ground, leaving only a terrified face. The enemies might not have time to find him before they were all killed by him. Lin Kuan slowly retracted his gaze. 6 Bakatans, 12 points of energy. He had 16 points left, and could launch at least 7 more times. Now, Lin Kuan has become a mobile point shooting king. After the upgraded headshot girl's skill release distance increased to 50 meters, Lin Kuan became more concealed, enough for him to hunt opponents more covertly. He could choose a more concealed corner at a relatively farther position, revealing only a pair of eyes. Become a breathing ghost on the battlefield. Whoever he stares at will die. Like this team of Bacatans, they didn't know where Lin Kuan was hiding until they died. This is more concealed and silent than firearms, it is difficult to find the trajectory, and there is no noise. Therefore, Lin Kuan never spent his contribution points on exchanging firearms. For him, it is not necessary. It is enough to have a shotgun and a rocket launcher, two range-killing weapons, to make up for his shortcomings. The new derivative effect is even more terrifying. Not only can it explode biological organisms, but it can also directly make Lin Kuan on the battlefield explode anything he stares at. The only flaw is that the volume of the object that can be exploded is too small. Of course, in fact, Lin Kuan's own physical fitness and strength attributes are now high enough. If it really comes to close combat, ordinary Bacatans are really no match for him. Lin Kuan squatted in the building, suppressing the excitement in his heart, and examined his results. 7 plus 6 equals 13. With 13 contribution points, you can draw another card. Lin Kuan felt itchy and quickly drew the card. Soon, his eyes widened again. This time, the card shows a head of beautiful black hair. Fairy gaze set. It's a hairpin. Name: Fairy's hairpin. Type: item card. Description: use this item card to get a hairpin from an unknown fairy. It is of high quality. Wearing it can increase your return rate. Use this hairpin to attack others. The hit has a 60% chance of ignoring the target's physique and causing massive bleeding. Special note: this card is one of the fairy's new clothes deck. Collect the fairy's concentration skills, embroidered shoes, hairpins, and incense to synthesize the fairy gaze card, and you will get the fairy's attention. Is it present? This time, is it a hairpin? This is the second fairy set card that Lin Kuan has obtained. All it takes is embroidered shoes and incense to summon the gaze of the fairy. However, the effect of this hairpin this time is very powerful. Putting aside the function of turning heads when worn, this thing is simply a killer. 60% chance of ignoring the target's constitution and causing massive bleeding. This means that if Lin Kuan used this hairpin to stab a big boss with a constitution of 100, triggering this effect, and if he found the vital point, he might stab him to death at once. However, in the picture on this card, there are only hair and hairpins, but there is still no face of this unknown fairy. Lin Kuan still doesn't know who this fairy is. In the dimly lit second floor, a golden and delicate hairpin quickly appeared in Lin Kuan's hand. The hairpin is about 12 centimeters long and has a very sharp end. Holding it in your hand, it is a handy weapon. The most important thing is that this hairpin has amazing effects and is a real good thing. In close combat, no matter how strong the enemy is, it is possible to kill the opponent instantly. At critical moments, it may be of great use. Lin Kuan is looking forward to seeing who this fairy is after the cards are combined. Lin Kuan calmed down and continued hunting. However, it seems that today, as Lao Wu said, the Bacatans are making big moves. The number of Bacatan armed personnel who are usually very active has been significantly reduced today. In the next hour or so, Lin Kuan did not encounter a few. Wandering from 6:30 to 9 o'clock, the sky was bright, and he had just collected 10 more contribution points. Lin Kuan also pinned down a lone Bacatan and unluckily tested the fairy hairpin. It was indeed cruel, but his face was a little dark. He stabbed 3 times in a row before triggering the trigger. Lin Kuan clearly missed the vital point, and the opponent was bleeding crazily, and eventually died of blood loss. Lin Kuan took advantage of his good luck and continued to choose to draw cards. This time, an attribute bonus card was drawn. Name: any attribute card. Type: bonus card consumable. Bonus card grade: F grade. Description: using this card, you can get 5 attribute points that can be allocated at will, which can be used to improve any attribute. You can freely assign 5 attributes. This is good stuff. Lin Kuan's eyes lit up. The first time he got this bonus card, he thought it was nothing. But with the improvement of his own attributes, Lin Kuan now understands how big the improvement of high basic attributes is. No matter how powerful the skills are, it is useless if the basic attributes are not good. Moreover, with every upgrade, in addition to energy, basic attributes can also increase by 1 point. The higher the level, the harder it is to achieve. In other words, super high attributes are difficult to obtain, but he can increase attributes by drawing cards. 5 points is equivalent to the attribute bonus of 5 levels in a row. This is simply cheating. With 5 points at a time, if he can get unlimited bonuses, he can even have hundreds or thousands of abnormal attributes at low levels. Others have to upgrade hard to get a few pitiful attributes, but he can add 5 points with 1 card. Lin Kuan pondered for a moment, and the 5 attributes were distributed as follows: Constitution +3, Strength +2. Name: Lin Kuan. Level: 8 6,607,000. Strength: 17. Agility: 15. Physique: 26. Energy: 6/28. Tip: all the above data have a standard value of 10 for ordinary people. Lin Kuan didn't put all the energy into his physique this time because his physique was high enough. The headshot female skill can kill creatures with 48 points instantly. This level is already very terrifying. Most of the Bokatans can be killed. Killing is even more powerful, but it cannot be compensated by adding these 5 points of physical fitness. It can be allocated to 2 points of power, which can directly bring greater changes to the forest group. But now that Lin Kuan has the concentration technique, his energy recovery speed has increased. Adding a few more energy means little to him. 17 points of strength, combined with Mario's skills, can reach 25.5. 2.5 times the standard value. Not to mention that one punch can kill a Bokatan alive. Whether Lin Kuan moves vertically or horizontally or performs any other operations, this power can bring very real help to Lin Kuan. Direct strength improvement. Lin Kuan can gain gains in all aspects in actual combat and non-combat conditions, which is very practical. If you just add all the energy to physical fitness, the improvement to Lin Kuan's current stage will be almost zero. Instead of forcibly improving physical fitness, it is better to distribute it in a balanced way to effectively improve combat power and survivability. Next time you draw the attribute card, add the full amount to your physique. With the improvement of strength, the speed of obtaining contribution points has increased, and Lin Kuan's frequency and number of card draws will increase. Therefore, he has fewer concerns about using cards and no longer worries too much. The main purpose is to use cards and contribution points to actually enhance the efficiency of killing Bokatans. With the improvement of strength, Bokatans can be killed faster. Don't contribution points and cards have plenty? In the War of Civilizations, there are alien races everywhere. It is far less efficient to quickly convert them into combat power and snowball them. At this moment, Lin Kuan's attributes have far exceeded the attributes that the 9th level can theoretically have. Lin Kuan wandered around for a while, but he didn't find a Bokatan. Many survivors who rushed to the survivor base of the 6th prison turned out to be a blessing in disguise and passed through this area without danger. The change in the situation made him a little worried, but he also understood that the Bokatans only had 30 days and could not tolerate the existence of chaos. It was an inevitable choice to concentrate all manpower to quickly disintegrate the human living force. These days are just small-scale conflicts in chaos. The real life and death battle has just begun. At that time, he will also stand out from the shadows and fight against the Bokatans together with the military, the survivor base, and the entire Magic City. He will develop alone, without being constrained by others and wasting time, and he does not have to compete with others for contribution points. But if a war really starts, the best answer for humans is to stick together. With the power of a civilization. Only then can we fight against a civilization. Every individual in a civilization cannot be immune to it. Lin Kuan stood on the top floor of a low building and looked at the entire Magic City through the window. The sky was gradually becoming gloomy, and drizzle fell from the end of the sky, as if covering the whole world with a veil. Lin Kuan's heart was pounding, and his pupils reflected the Bokatan sailing fleet far away. Finally, he retracted his gaze, jumped off the building, and returned to the survivor base. When he came back, he saw that the 2 exit gates of the survivor base were open, and the military convoy roared out. In groups. The duty of the garrison at the survivor base is to guard the survivor base and ensure the safety of the surrounding area. Lin Kuan has never seen a large-scale military deployment since he came here. What happened? Lin Kuan guessed and quickened his pace. After entering the survivor base, Lin Kuan discovered that inside the survivor base of the 6th prison, military broadcasts resounded throughout the survivor base. That was the military's emergency mobilization of the survivors. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.